Got my phone handy.
Good morning, Jake.
Good morning, Kurt, and welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Making Turbo Pit Fighter, the comic that's only worked on a couple hours every Sunday, live on the air, and making progress like an iceberg moves. Um, so I was working on a couple of concepts this week I can talk about. Some writing, some drawing. Um, Today, later on in the show, we're going to have a exciting guest. It's going to be Ralph Nixon.
Yep, Junior. It'll be our first one for 2026. It's also going to be the test shooting for just having somebody come on while we're doing our 3-hour event on a Sunday, 10 to 1. And then I will later cut that out and then place it in the Indie Creator Exchange
As if it was a
playlist.
regular episode.
As
Yeah.
if it was a regular episode. As a matter of fact, this morning I did that to your last week's episode 60 of the Comics That Influence, and it went very, very well, Jake.
Oh yeah. So we have had a guest on already this year. Then I don't know if you're it, but we didn't clip it all apart, right?
Yeah, that's just Alex coming on, and because we
Oh, it's just Alex.
not just Alex, but because he was the third party involved in creating the pages for the Duke, the Secret Life of the Duke, which are completed, and you have, my friend.
Yes, and I am transferring to this computer right here, right now. So if it looks like I'm not doing anything exciting, I'm doing digital stuff. Although this is like circa 2008 technology, I'm moving the final files that Kurt has finished inking and toning and all that good stuff, so that I can um, permanently situate the word balloons on there. After having worked out the word balloons already, um, I can finally like just put them down. It shouldn't take too long. I'm thinking to just put them down and then finish out that 11 pager.
Well, you got 3 hours today, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, one of the other things too is that we've got to get Alex back on because we need to divvy up these pages. So, Alex was so gracious to send me his physical art for me to work on, which has been the first time I've been able to do this in like 20 something years. So super special. Big thanks to Alex for trusting me. But then we got to divvy up the pages into thirds. Well, basically 1/3 to 2/3. I'll hold the rest for our side. So we'll have to, I say we let him make the first choice, which I think is going to be this one.
Oh, this is the first time. This is the first time I'm hearing about this. So you're saying that Alex is going to keep some of the original art, and you're going to
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it was his original drawings that were made. So he does deserve to have, a portion of the art. And in the future, when it comes to somebody hunting down the whole thing, they'll have to go to 2, if not 3 estates, and deal with grouchy family members that are,
right.
what are you talking about?
Right. So you drew directly onto his inked pages, right?
Yep.
And you really put a lot on there. I mean, I just looking at those things. There's just so much toning and gray and everything.
Yeah, that's my toning and texturing. And I actually learned something. If I could take one hot moment, a new tool of mine is coming into play. But actually, on the last page, you could see it. Tombow, if you guys know, is a great dual tip brush pen. It's got like a little bullet tip on there, for getting fine line, but it's got a really great brush that held together for a long, long time. I've been using the black forever, but these are water based. So once you put them down and you spritz them with some water, it's going to start acting like watercolors. So I have bought, there you go. I bought 6 of the 30% gray, and I was using one this time on the pages, bringing in it at a 50% cool gray. So just to give you an idea, this is the 30% gray, which even when it goes over itself, it starts really making some good stuff. And the reason I'm saying this is like, this is a really great tool if you're hand drawing your comics and you need to throw down a value and have it kind of flat in a sense. Really great, really great.
Now hold on
product.
there a second there. Hold on there, cowboy. You're saying these are water soluble,
Yeah.
but they throw down a uniform gray. How come
Yeah.
how come the strokes don't overlap? Show me.
No, they
Why
do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean it's for me it's like modeling. You know what I mean? Like you just keep
Right. Okay.
you know
You
what
got
I
to
mean? Like,
keep in mind. But they do have paint markers now, acrylic pens and all this kind of stuff.
well,
where
that's what I
really
also
flat.
have, where you can see here. I can go right over the top, and these are very flat. Flatter.
They're flat, but
Great
they also
value.
yeah. I mean, it's also like putting a coat of paint on a wall, though. So anything you
These
do
are not
over
water
it,
soluble.
right? The water soluble just kind of blends in with the paper, and you
Yeah.
can still do stuff on top. The
Yeah, and
paint,
if you wanted to, let me see if I have one of these around loaded already. I don't. Well, I could just do this. You can. I don't know if that's enough water, but you could just take water and work it right over the top and kind of smooth it out. And this is what I learned when I'm experimenting and trying to find some really interesting stuff. I liked it a lot for the metal. So anytime I was wanting to apply a texture tonally to an object that I felt was metal, these actually, all 3 of these, even the paintbrush,
yeah,
were a part of it.
So I have a set of grayscale alcohol markers that you can buy at Five Below. They're really cheap actually, but they probably don't last that long. I mean, in terms of like shelf life, like sitting them down on the shelf for like 3 years.
Right.
But they're a lot more uniform, especially if you fill in an area while everything's wet, it just kind of merges together, and you don't have that overlapping. Really, interesting for people that are working in black and white indie comics. The gray toning. You have a lot of people that are like diluting a little bit of India ink in water,
Yeah.
and then they're just brushing on an ink wash.
Well,
But
I just hit this up. This is a water. I guess they call them water pens now, and
yeah,
I diluted up some India ink with water, and then I syringed that into here, and of course now I can quickly, without having to set anything up, boom.
yeah, but that's only one level. If you want a 10% and a 50% and a 70%, you got to have three
You gotta
pens,
set
right?
it up. Yep, you gotta set it up.
Show the tip of that real close on camera, because I've always had a problem with those things kind of splitting and
Oh, they do.
not giving you yeah. So those aren't
Yeah,
really
they
good
do.
for a point for a good.
Well, I
They're not
mean,
they're not
depends on
reliable.
it depends on how gentle you are as a
Ooh.
human,
Mhm.
and an artist.
um, so yeah, so you get things done one way or the other by
Hell yeah.
putting values on the page in an interesting way. So hopefully, people see that we're doing black and white comics, but we're, and not necessarily losing anything compared to color comics. I mean, I think it's a lot more, what do I want to say? Artistic? No, a lot more, you have to be a lot more clever and a lot more resourceful when you're working in black and white as opposed to color where you have the whole palette and you can do like a mood, like, oh, this whole page is going to be reds and browns, right? And it's going to set a mood. So with grayscale, you have to use other means to get there. And
Values. It's all about value, whether it's color or gray, black and white. The best art across the board, no matter if it's fine art or amateur art, if you will, is the understanding and application of values. It really is. So, I think if you were ever to get started on your comic book, restrict yourself only to black and white. Unless you want to look at your colors through a value system, yellow being the lightest, purple being the darkest, and so on in between, you will only improve and get better once you have an excellent grasp of value systems. And honestly, that's usually what I'm always trying to amplify in my own technical skills. I don't consider myself a top level understander of values. And so therefore, that's why I like playing with a lot of texture in order to get there as well.
Yeah, I mean, color. I have a love-hate relationship with color. Black and white is probably my first choice in sequential comics, anyway. Because there's something happened to me when I crossed over from my 20 and 25-cent Marvels into the magazine format, where there was like Planet of the Apes and Savage Sword and that Red Sonja origin issue, and it just indelibly set in my mind like something's different here, you know. But when it comes to doing these colorful faces, I always try to treat value like these hair designs and stuff. I always treat colors as if I was colorblind and I was
Yeah.
just looking at the value of
Yep.
them. And I do that. I do this with both drawing and painting. But when I'm drawing, and we have all these cool paint markers we can use now, and I have all these like high tech C's. We have these are interesting when you're doing like really kind of like solid lines in color as opposed to like shading. And then for the fine tune, we have the high tech C's. But the idea of using color as value and just ignoring what the color is. So basically, your yellows and oranges and pinks are your light tones, and your blues and greens and purples are your dark tones. And just grab, that's kind of what I do. Like, I don't know if it's like Zen or laziness, but I just like grab whatever's closest. That's the value I want, and I just ignore whatever color it is and let the randomness be, like the artistic statement. But when it comes to comic pages, it's different. Like, I do a color comic with the Pearl White Malady, series that I'm doing with my students. And there we just like, we're splashing color all over the place.
Yeah, but you have to admit with them, that is all emotional response.
Well,
there's very little technical application to children making art.
Well, with children, so we're talking about sixth graders all the way up to high school. So some are children, some are young adults, but it's also a matter of like what do we have? It's not like we always have a full complement there at all times. So if it's like the only color there is purple, you got to use purple. Right. As far as choices, yeah, Kurt's right. Like, kids are of the mindset like, oh, I'm going to use every single color on this page, right? Like,
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm the same way when it comes to color. I have to apply, and you know what? It's not a choice. Like, it's not a conscious choice. It's a subconscious choice for me, and I have a feeling it has something to do with hogging the crayon box for my brother. or something like
Okay.
that. But I have this thing, like I'll sit down and say, oh, I really want to make this like a predominantly like blues and reds and purple, you know, and then I'll get in there and work, and then I'll be like, oh, if I threw this green in there, that red's gonna pop over, it's gonna pop up more. Cool. Da-da-da. Oh, well, since I put that green over there, you know, it'd be really kind of neat to just have a little bit of yellow, you know, and then next thing you know, it's just all colors are out, and I'm actually getting frustrated because I have to, you know, find a more specific, you know, mauve type of color to get in there between and let, you know, there, which is probably from my painting background from college.
I used to have this thing like, you know, like sometimes you sit down to do an artwork and you say, all right, I'm going to make a rule, and you have to follow the rule. And that's what this artwork is going to be all about. Right. So I,
Yeah.
yeah, when I was teaching in Yonkers, I had a rule, and I said, I'm going to, you know, the kids all left last period, and I'm going to gather up all the markers and
Yeah.
pencils that are lying around the tables. I'm going to put them all into a pile. And then I have to use them all at least once in making one of these colorful faces. And then,
That's
you know, because, you know, that I can, you know, I'll make some kind of use of the randomness of the colors that are sitting here in front of me. And I would do that, you know. So you know, color's great, but you know, I call it fruity pebbles, like, you know, with the kids, like. And then I'm like, you have to understand, like, when you're writing something on a white piece of paper, and you're gonna, oh, I have a great idea. I'm gonna make every letter a different color. Oh yeah, no one's ever thought of that before. But then you have the yellow, and it doesn't show up. And I tell the kids, like, oh, I can't read that one letter right there. It's very low contrast. And you, like, you know, you see how I'm like putting in
what you
these
talking about?
vocabulary words, right? Low
Yeah.
contrast. Like, what are you trying to say? Right.
What bullshit are you trying to get me?
And so
Trying to throw me,
color, yeah, color
Mr.
is
J.
the bane of my existence, because you know, I'm always cleaning up paint and cleaning up spills, and you know, the kids are writing right on the table, and you know, I'm like, I'm a hypocrite if I yell at them for doing graffiti, because I was like the worst graffiti kid when I was a kid. So I I try to go easy, but I'm like, you know, clean it up, because it's not supposed to be there. I'll give you a piece of paper, do it on paper.
So, since I'm completed with my duties on Secret Life of the Duke, penciled layouts by Alex Turbin, I'm going to head back over to the End of the World tableau, or excuse me, index drawings, which will be, you know, there'll be a chance, I guess, down the road where we'll be able to use um, these as spot illustrations for
Lead in
the
pages.
lead in pages. I know you talked about that. You know, we also have these you know, these like visual literature, or you know, just with spot illustrations and stuff. But I also have pulled out the last 10 pages just to remind everybody of Turbo Pit Fighter issue number 1, 28 pages. You know, I am getting ready to head back into this.
Whoa.
And so that's page 19.
That's a game changer.
That's 19. Yeah, I know, isn't it? I mean, it just feels like 3 months ago we were abandoning
Like,
poor
oh,
Turbo. So pretty excited about this, but you know, one of the hot topics I think we're going to be kind of returning to and going over quite a lot is the amount of pages in Doom Magazine's anthology, End of the World anthology number 1. Whether we're going to have the first 18 pages of Turbo in there. We have Sebastian's pages, which I've yet to see because they're behind a
download.
Yeah, download. We have to get permission and all this kind of crap. And then, yeah, and I mean, even down to the point of, you know, we have a pin up from Noah, Ken Landgraf, and even our guest today, Ralph
Right.
Nixon. So, you know, we are starting to accumulate, and I just really want to state, Jake, that my own publishing process or going to print process is I stop on a day, no matter it's not an arbitrary day, it's a deadline day,
Yeah.
and say, okay, now I'm going to collect everything that I have, and I'm actually going to print up a mock-up. And that's Crom the Barbarian. I did this. And not everything made it into Crom Anthology. So I don't know how you feel. I don't know what your thoughts are yet, but I'm hoping today to accomplish that as basically like the first question I have for you is this. Other than you tweaking what we have, all art is in and we are done making art for issue 1 of Doommags.
Right. Well, tweet. No, we have the zine pages, which I consider as art. But we have a lot. We have all the illustrations of that done. We just have to, wind them or combine them with text in an artistic way to compose a page for publication. And a lot of that writing is done too. Maybe just some editing and all together. But that's going to take a time. I would say it'll be a Sunday per page at least to do that. Um, one thing we should talk about we haven't mentioned is Sebastian. So Sebastian was a comic book art student that we met at IC3. We kept in touch. He said he was interested in maybe doing a 6-pager. We worked out terms. And then, he disappeared for a while, came back. He was finishing school, whatever. I don't even question. People get busy, so it's fine. But he just recently turned in all 6 pages, and he's going to be sending me the originals actually.
Wow.
So now we're at a decision point, Kurt and I, where we are trying to figure out when are we going to close this all down. And if we put his 6-pager in, which is a story called The Company Man, featuring Pitchblende, who is one of the Rectifiers, super squadron, female enhanced by Elevena, at rescuing a teenage girl who whose father was a whistleblower for the Huberton companies. We have to decide if we're going to try to put that in Doom Magazine Anthology number 1 or number 2. I already told Sebastian it's looking like number 2, but then he finished up the pages, pretty quickly after that and got them over to us. So, decisions. We are still finishing up what we have for the first anthology. And if we did include his stuff, his 6-pager, we would be tacking on another 6 pages. But in comic publishing and printing, you can't really do 6 pages. You can do 4 or you can do 8. I mean, 8 is always better because it's a full sheet of paper on the web press folded and into 8 panels. But 4, they could just take a sheet, cut it in half, and then fold it and staple it in. So if we added this in, we would either take away 2 zine pages, or to me the big, thinking about yes or no. To me, the no is more is kind of leaning in the fact that I would have to put all the word balloons on it.
Exactly. So,
right.
I think at this point it has to go to issue 2, not only for page count, but for time focus. Like, you have already stated that you are going to need a whole entire 3-hour episode in order to establish, to create and generate and make, these additional pages that will fill things in. I really, I have, like I said, a concern for us not kind of giving a deadline, if you will, to ourselves in, even if, it's the end of February, just arbitrarily, it's not completed. It just doesn't get used, and we use something that's already, already hanging around completed. Like, I've done these two as illustrations. Now I know you have a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the idea of just placing an illustration in that has really nothing to do with the text. I like it because it causes that friction where people are like, all right, well, this is Mrs. Ike, but this is talking about, like that was in there, Elevena. So what does that have to do with the two? But this is really just an info dump, like an infomercial, or, it's just information about said turbo.
No rhyme or reason.
Yeah. And, it's eye candy, it's a little verbiage here that, if you enjoy, Jake's prose, or the way Jake approaches the use of language to express, ideas and action and stuff, you might find yourself like, oh, wow, yeah, this is some great Jake prose. It's not like, oh shit, now I know who Elevena is. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe there are people out there that they need this, and they need the picture there. I don't know. I really don't care per se.
Okay.
Because and that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna err on the side of logic where the picture is of the text that's right next to it, as opposed to a random character from the timeline, causing confusion. So we have plenty of pictures of all the characters that are involved, so we just have to select them, and all the other pictures we'll just put back into the library for the issue where there's some writing about them.
Right.
We just, at this point, we have so much stuff. I probably have a whole comic worth of just side sketches, illustrations, some inked, some colored, some just pencils. But I work on that kind of stuff nonstop. Just when I open up a sketch pad, and a lot of them are repetitious. Like, I probably have 6 Elevenas. I probably have 6, or 10 Esoteras. I probably have 5 or 6 Hellclaws and all that. But that's publishing. You're curating a book and you're putting together what you want to appear in the final art. So it's a challenge. It's fun. It's whatever it is. And this is the fun, the kind of the fun part of the job that we're approaching right now. As soon as we're done with these word balloons here.
So I am going to state that I will be done this index, these index illustrations for the end of the world index. So once I've hit these as completion, anything I'm working on is not going to be heading into Doommags.
I'm excited to hear that you're going back to ink Turbo #1.
I know that. I know you are.
To me, that gives
I'm
me
just establishing
running up my arm.
I'm just establishing a quick line for me that our fan base can basically go, whew, all right. Well, one of them has established that they're not going to keep making stuff. They're gonna basically resort to what's there and then put it together. Now, just so everybody does understand, Jake, as the lead writer and creator of Turbo Pit Fighter, it makes the most sense for him to, like he's doing now, deal with his own text and placing it not only in blocks, but re-editing as he goes along, and so on and so forth. And then even the the intro pages, which we'll use these types of illustrations for, from the tableau, as well as any of this extra footage, bonus material. This is stuff that Jake has to generate. So that's not something that, Jake can say, oh, well, I'll have everything written by the end of the month. So at this point, I don't want anybody going, come on, Jake, just say you're done, so you get that comic book out.
Yeah, this is old stuff to me. Like, I'm I'm really concerned, like on the day to day, with plotting out new stuff and new characters, what happens,
Yep.
new chapters, adventures. So if we're doing a lead-in page for the Duke, it's something that I could just just type out. I could just really crank out.
Yeah.
I probably, we already have an entire, I don't know, 20-page document online about all the Duke's exploits. And so this is really just keying in on certain parts of it that Alex and I, decided was going to be the sequential art sequences. So, what do you need to know? What does the reader need to know
Yeah.
before then? What's the setup? Well, we want to talk about Duke's life, and up to that point anyway. And this is really going to be the end of his life, but it also goes into flashbacks. So, this would be really easy for me. You know that I could just talk about it right now, like at length.
Yep.
We could just take the transcript from this episode. We can turn it into a Word doc or a text document, and then I can cut and paste that into Quark and then just edit it. So it's not hard. It's just like we just need to set aside when are we going to do that, on which Sunday are we going to do that. So these again, to me, this is all the fun bonus part of making a comic, because we already did all the art and the art and the lettering, the word balloons. I mean, the word balloons is what's killing us here. It's it doesn't take that long, but it takes long. It's time that you could be drawing and inking.
But you're putting those final edits on your original scripting. So, it's one thing, and I love that. I love that part about it, Jake, is that, a lot of people really look at writing as like a guideline to just making really, really cool pictures. And then when it comes time to finish or package the story, it literally becomes like, we'll slam in all the text. And then there's just no, it's almost like a major sense of disconnection from then the original source material that drove you to make all these images. So if the writer himself could actually be the editor of placement and said text blocks and balloons, how better of an experience you're going to have reading a comic book story.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you put on the page is your statement, and we're making our statement, and we made a bunch of mistakes in our process here, going over stuff back and forth a couple of times, like this page right here. This is going to be the third time I'm lightening up these iterations of the Duke, so that it looks more like this, right? So this is what I did last time when I thought I had the final art in my hand. And you were like, oh, no, Jake, no, that's only 80% art. So I'm like, okay. And I was already on page 3. So now I'm coming in, and, this it's not the end of the world, but it is going to be some time here where I'm going to have to go lasso the original art here, because, Kurt might have changed it. I don't even know. I'm not seeing too much difference.
Very minute.
The before or after, but I think I have higher res here, so that's a big difference. Also,
400 DPI.
Yeah. Also, I'm moving this stuff down here, and I'm gonna be cutting this off. Yeah, it's darker. I don't know. I don't question. I just do. But so I'm just working on page 1, and hopefully I'm pretty sure I'll get through this page today and then move on to the next page and see as far as we can go. But really exciting to have finished pages in the can, right? And that's what we're doing. So
then I got another question: hair colors, values. Elevena 2222, dark hair, brunette.
She's So Esoterra has like dark black hair, and Elevena, I never did her in color before. So I was thinking like auburn,
So yeah, mid-range dark brown, like a brown color. How about Shankra?
Well, she's um, Indian or Sri Lankan.
Black. Hellclaw's a blonde, right?
So maybe you want to ask ChatGPT real quick.
No, I
Do
don't need
Indians
to.
and Sri Lankans have anything other than
Red.
black hair?
Red.
Right.
Red.
I mean, there is talk about the Brahmins, right, who are mixed in with Aryan blood.
Exactly. The red blondes. Esoterra's blonde, right?
Esoterra.
I'm sorry, Hellclaw. Hellclaw.
Oh, Hellclaw. I have her kind of uh, reddish brown.
Reddish brown.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't go for blondes, huh?
Well, I wasn't thinking about Hellclaw. Yeah, we're gonna have blondes. We're gonna
Really?
have everything. Well, Pearl White Malady is blonde.
Well, Trophy Girl's blonde. Trophy Girl's blonde.
Well, Trophy Girl technically has rainbow hair.
Oh, okay.
But that was only the cover art for the colors cover for that print I made.
Right.
It's pretty much, for the purposes of black and white inside. It's blonde is fine for those purposes.
Blonde is beautiful, baby.
Yeah, sure.
So they're stacking up. They're stacking up on YouTube. It looks like we got three with us right now. Saboteur Comics. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Welcome. We're doing some finalization here. Kurt just sent me the final inks for the Duke pages, the Alex Turbin art. So finalizing these pages, and I might put a little touch in here and there myself, since we're just calling it a day, putting these to bed, as they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next thing I need to do is split this right down the middle here, and I have to make this into this. What's going on in the world of comics, guys? Anything out there? Any news and views?
News and views.
What'd you do this week, Kurt?
Well,
of note. Do you have a
PSA? Okay. Got some figure drawing in. It's been about 3 months. So I was able to get to my Wednesday session. Played around with some color markers to get some effects to play with later with my paint markers. So was really excited to get that down. Well, one thing we could talk about that is really fun is I have completed reading 4 of my 5 my mangas I bought myself for Christmas with a gift card my mother-in-law gave me to Barnes and Nobles. Because I made this pretty hyperbolic, if you will, when I was talking about I want to know more about manga in a broader sense than just that looks cool. So 2 of these were bought not really on cool, maybe on other factors, but the first 2 were just sort of long overdue. Booty Royale was a suggestion from Dan Snoke, who made a comment when I made that whole announcement about getting these. There was 5 of them. I'm now working on the 5th one, which is a freaking Bible phone book size. So, but it's really good. I mean, it's of course my wheelhouse of Vikings and barbarians and stuff. So, not really worried about putting that into, let's say a review. But one of these was extremely disappointing. All of them really gave me, I think, an excellent understanding for at least this style or genres, the genres of of manga. But Booty Royale and Berserk, hands down, 5 out of 5. If I'm going to do some kind of like card, voting and giving some kind of like thing. But I am going to pursue getting other, at least the next thing. You really, the one thing I would have to say that the ding I had for Berserk is it really does need to be read large, because this smaller digest doesn't really no good or justice, especially to some of the paneling in what I mean, you could barely see what's going on in there, but great story. Like, wow, look at that. Like, talk about blasting something out into like just black. But anyhow, so there are these larger printed volumes out there. I'll have to further investigate them. Quite expensive. But we'll see what happens. But Booty Royale was really fun. Great cliffhanger. And I'll talk a little bit. I'll come back to her and talk about, because these other two, very much these three are all in the same genre. And I did find these two based on doing some web searching on like, what is Booty Royale and where does it kind of fit in the world of manga? There's terminology that I have yet to quite understand or consume, like harem, or there was a couple of other types of terminology going in. But this is all about a young lady, karateka from Okinawa, who wants to be an idol, a singing idol in Japan, but is navigating the filth that is old man gooners and even up to the big P word. But really excellent, very excellent writing. I don't even know if this is a male or a female artist. Haven't even got that far, but either side, very well told. It's Ru. I'll do it right now. Takato. Ru Takato.
Ru Takato?
Yeah, Ru Takato. Manga.
So, Booty Royale, it sounds like a take on Battle Royale.
Yeah. It's that take.
And that was the what was that the name of the forerunner of Hunger Games? There was a Japanese
Hunger Games is before, because Hunger Games were books.
Yeah, but there was a movie in Japan where there was like a competition of teens that go on an island and kill each other.
Yeah,
it was a little more gory, but I watched it. It was good, and I think they called it Battle Royale or something like that. So it sounds like Booty Royale is maybe like a take on that.
I don't know much. I don't know much. It's first and foremost exploitative comedy, like in our terms of like the 70s and 80s movie making. This would be a total, like there's an exploitation movie that came up on my radar called Chick Boxer. Have you heard about this one? Total low budget, like made on the family VCR camera or whatever, but has a cult following and stuff. But similar kind of thing. Girl wants to learn to protect herself or even make herself more attractive, so she thinks it would be a good idea to get into becoming a martial artist, a karate person and stuff. And all of her friends make all these jokes and have all these pointers and, all this kind of thing. So, very young people, high school into college, young people. But like I said, very, very thing. Now it says it's Takato Ru. So it is, he is a male mangaka. So mystery solved. Now these two, I just finished Reincarnation Coliseum, and then J.K. Rahu is a sex worker in another world. I jumped out of this one about probably like a chapter or two in. Definitely written for girls, like 110%, like completely lost me in terminology, referencing, and then of course the way, a female writer is going to write for females, pages of like, isn't this how it is with boys, or isn't this how you feel or you've come across to and have dealt with, your body, or, these times. And I was just like, yeah, I'm sorry, it has its own sense of like naughtiness, but that's like total, not even backseat. It's like the backseat of a station wagon. It's that third back seat. So, but well written, well presented, but not for a guy my age, looking to try to expand his realm in there. Now, and by the way, this is, this, like I said, not my cup of tea. So, thing. This, on the other hand, was like the male version of J.K. Haru there. And so it was a little difficult to maneuver through, like stay with, visual is one thing, but if you're actually trying to get down into the level of story, this one is boy based, so it's computer games, and he's brought to
those breasts are protruding through the camera.
Yeah,
they just obscured my vision for a moment.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll come back. Your vision will come back. But he comes into this world of like Colosseum battling, and if you lose, you become the slave for reproductive reasons, and if you're a boy, you'll be changed into a girl. And I mean, it's bonkers. I mean, it's the one thing I can say, no matter how I reacted to said manga, the number one thing I think, hands down, if you were to just randomly pick up a manga, is they're bonkers, because they're not within the same guardrails, especially with sexuality or expressing sexual content. There's just no guardrails in their country or culture in the sense of it being free flowing and informed in a manga, which is one of my biggest frustrations in America for contemporary comic book making. But the reincarnation Coliseum, I am going to say, if I can not pay for the next volume or two, I'll definitely keep reading it. But it did not take, because the whole thing is, okay, so the underlining tone is boy beating video game. That's what it's all about. And then he has this little girl, or young lady, I should say, who is a confidant to help him understand the world and the rules of the game and the opponents he's fighting. But, I think one of the issues, other than the gamer thing, is the Mary Sue part of it. So he's, this scrawny little guy, who gets transported from, in front of a computer playing games. He's just
that's like the Tron idea, right?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything, but it's highly graphic material they're dealing with, though. Like, I'm really like just combing over just gliding right over the top of it to just kind of like not get ourselves in a ding here.
You mean graphic violence or graphic?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. That's my point, is they just don't seem to have any guardrails when it comes to expressing an idea, placed in a genre, and then trying to make their own twist and journey about it. And I just find it to really, black and white, love it. Zipatones, love it. Small, don't love it. I would love to have this. Would love to have this.
Bigger.
my size, you know, I mean, like that kind of thing. So, you know,
Well, even just standard comic format.
I'm thoroughly impressed at what I got a hold of. I'm also, other than, you know, quote unquote, getting rid of this one, and I'm probably just going to sell on eBay at some point.
Yeah.
Just really, you know, I have to give them, you know, and this is the last thing I want to say. Comic books is a young person's game. You always hear that. You know, it's childish, immature, dealing with, you know, hyperbolic sensitivity towards sex and violence and stuff. But escapism goes. Right now, there are very few titles I could point to in America, contemporary being in the last 20 years, that even matches what's going on in these mangas. And so, to answer your first question, what's going on with the comic books in America, I think we're not only losing the game, it's not even a race, it's a game. Yeah, I have a feeling like unless culturally we can let go of a huge amount of stuff out there, you know, it's going to be tough. Now, indie comic aside, you know, pulling that in and putting it front and center, there's so much going on out there. I come across just on YouTube and people engaging me through Crom anthology, cromthebarbarian.com. I think there's going to be some saviors that come out of indie. I really do. And I'm getting super excited about IC3 in Providence, September 26th. I have put my application in, but I think I've taken up enough airtime, Jake. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't get my application in yet. I had a busy week. So that's cool. That's cool info. My week was you know, I was working all week. It was a rough week. We had record cold in the city. We have ice and snow everywhere. So that's why I'm upstairs today. It might sound a little different. I've been reading the Crumb biography here by Dan Needle. I went and saw Crumb at the 92nd Street Y when they were launching the book. And I got a copy there, and I also got, you know, the autograph book plate here. I bought an extra copy or two, and I had a buddy of mine who's in the autograph business told me to pick up a couple for him. So this is signed by Art Crumb and the author Dan Needle. But you know, it was amazing because the book that I was given with the ticket to the lecture had the other book plate that I got, not this one, the other one. R. Crumb writes Jesus fucking Christ on it, and I asked the guy, and he was like, no other books had that. So it was really weird that that was the one that ended up in my hand, because I feel so connected to Crumb for his art, you know, style. And I really need to learn more from Crumb. You know, learning this whole history of Crumb and the Undergrounds has been very eye-opening. And you can see by my bookmark here that I'm just a little bit past the halfway point of the book. So now we're in 1971, 72. And you know, Crumb is really settled in as like the pioneer of the underground cartoonists. And he, you know, what happened, you know, it's a really good retelling of what happened. You know, underground cartooning, underground comics kind of unleashed the ability of everybody to create comics in those days. And there was a proliferation, they call it like a cottage industry, of people that were able to make comics, print up, you know, somewhere between like maybe 5 and 20 or 30,000 copies on offset presses, And because rents in 1972, like in Cleveland or San Francisco, was like $100 a month, you had people that were, supporting themselves largely through making comics. And they have a quote from Al Jaffe, none other than Al Jaffe of Mad Magazine, who was commenting on underground comics and Robert Crumb. And he said, God bless the fact that these guys finally put the nail in the coffin of censorship, because that's what had been, in his, view, holding back the creativity and the humor and the sensibility, of everybody at Mad for so many years. They were frustrated. So now you had a period of all these small time publishers that were putting out their wares, and some we might have never heard of, some we might have, but the ability of that, and Robert Crumb was credited, even at the time, as being like the father of it all. So he was kind of like enjoying that status, and he was also very prolific in continuing to create all of these other comics like Bijou Funnies and XYZ, and homegrown comics. They were just working on Zap number 5, in the part that I'm up to now. But really good book. I recommend it. Very well written, very well researched. I would say, it's inspiring to understand where this freedom came from in comics. So it's interesting to hear, you talk about, Japanese comics being so unbridled, because you can see that from 1968 to 69 to 70, underground comics started being sold and reprinted, republished, translated all over the world, including France and Italy, and all these other countries where it was, just kind of like punk rock, just like wherever the Ramones played a show, there was a punk rock band that popped up. So it was the same thing here, where whoever got exposed to Zap comics, you ended up seeing like a bunch of underground cartoonists jump into the fray. So I've been trying to advance on that book a little bit here and there. I read I actually read some of these comics that I went over last week. Um, this is an Oni Press comic called Benjamin Number One. This was actually better than I thought. The story moves kind of slow, but it's about a guy that wakes up with amnesia, and it turns out, interesting concept. He's a sci-fi writer that wrote about these kind of like sci-fi happenings, and then they all seem to be coming true in his life for real. And
Philip K. Dick.
yeah, right, stuff like that.
That's Philip K. Dick.
Kind of like heavy conceptual. This comic was just really, really amazing, like from end to end. So Titan Publishing is doing a great job with the Conan franchise. The comic was interesting. It brought out like some characters. We have Thoth Amon is at the end. The art is great. The story is thoughtful. So good for them to continue the Conan franchise. Cruel Universe. This was an anthology. This is the new EC, and they're fine. They were good. They're just short, like 8 pages or something. So you just get in, get out. But it's pretty good considering. Considering like it's nowadays and everything's already been done in storytelling. Um, this was a huge disappointment. Bloodletter in the Spawn universe, and so I know these are professional guys, and this is all sanctioned by Todd McFarlane in the Spawn universe, but I just couldn't understand what's going on, and it didn't hold my attention, and there was no splash panels. You don't really get a good look at the main character. Not so into this one. The art is great, but I don't know what they're. I don't know. I just didn't grab
What are
me.
you talking about?
I didn't read these yet. But I'm
Somebody
going.
explain this
But
to me.
I didn't want to just like show them on screen and then not ever read them. So I just read a couple of them anyway.
Good for you.
Another thing that happened this week that was kind of exciting in my pathetic world is I found something at school that was I had left. I brought there. This wasn't the school's. It was mine, but it was, and now I can't find it. But I found this interesting pad. Oh, here it is. That I don't remember seeing around because I'm always on the lookout for Bristol board pads. So let's take a look here. This pad right here. So we all know about this one. This one is still available. You can get this on eBay. You could whatever. It's Strathmore paper. It's Bristol board, 100-pound, which is like really good paper stock and really great to draw on and erase and ink and everything. And it even has non-repro lines for comic pages. So, this is the preferred kind of comic paper to use for comics if you can't get your hands on the Japanese stuff, like the Deleter or the other brands, which are cheaper and a little bit thinner, but still good quality. But I come across this, and I brought this to school years ago, left it there thinking I was going to have time to work on it at some point. Vellum Bristol paper. And I don't see these pads available anymore. At least not when I made my most recent check. And this is a 100-pound board. It's not ruled out, so you have to rule it out yourself. But the cut of it's 11 by 17. And
whoa.
And so that means that you can use this paper full bleed from side to side. And then all you have to do is cut off this much at the top. See, I drew this blue line here and cut off this much at the bottom. And then you're in the perfect comic proportion and you can just draw right up to the edges. So I had to try to find some more of these pads. This is 300 series, acid-free for creating comics, cartoons, graphic novels, dry media, etc. You don't want to paint on here too heavy, but I was really excited to find this because I'm at this point in my life, in my comic, revitalization, that I'm starting to make some comics on the side in a quicker style. And reading the Crumb biography has inspired me to do that. It's something that Alex mentioned a while ago, like if you could work in a quicker style, you could probably accomplish a lot more. So I'm just instead of just sketching, end of the world timeline characters in my spare time, I'm kind of pivoting a little bit to having comics laid out. This is Casualties #1, but I also have Hellclaw #1, and I'm just going to forgive myself to be in a quicker style. And they say that Crumb, when he was putting out all these comics, because he literally needed the money, to pay his rent and to feed his ex and his estranged wife Dana, and they had a kid, and they had this little compound set up in Potter Valley that needed a lot of fixing up and stuff. And he would get these advances from these companies, but then he wouldn't get any more money until he delivered pages. So he was a mercenary. So I started doing this Hellclaw #1, and this is going to be like a solo adventure when she starts out a little younger. And I already mapped out this full page here where they're going to try to abduct her when she's just a kid. It leads to her realizing her powers. It's not just humans, it's robots that are after her. So I did a page 1, I did a page 2, and then I did almost a full page 3. Is 2.5 pages, and I'm going to ink it myself, I think, in just like a quick style. And reading about Crumb and reading about how he sometimes used to just make his comics straight to ink, like not even pencil them. That was very often his modus operandi. Has me really excited, and I don't know, how long it would actually take to finish Casualties #1 or Hell Club #1, but I'm not going to ink Casualties #1. I'm just going to pencil it, and 32 pages. And so this is what I'm going to be doing instead of just doing more and more and more sketches. When I'm upstairs, when I'm hanging around and watching TV, listening to TV or a ball game or something. And so I've been pretty busy on that. This is something I think I've showed this before, but I have a piece of vinyl here, and I cut out this piece of vinyl in the proportion of a comic page, so that all I have to do, no matter what pad I'm working on, is just kind of, you can see here, I'll just like slap it down and trace it, and then I know I'm working in the right format, so that it's the standard comic format. Whether you print that at a comic size, or what we're doing is we're going to like a 11 inches tall by whatever. That seems like it's going to work out for the Turbo comic and the Doom Magazine's #1 comic, I think. And what else? Oh, so I also went to the Met Museum Friday night. There was a meetup of New York City art teachers. So I hung around with teachers, and we were talking shop for a while and comparing notes. But then before the museum closed, I went out and I did some sketches. And there's nothing like going to the Met Museum to sketch, I can tell you. Not only are you looking at priceless ancient artworks and and modern artworks, but people just come up to you and they just start talking to you. And there are other artists a lot of the time that also have their own sketchbooks. And it's amazing to me how like not shy people are in the Met to just, strike up a conversation. And, you could find people of your own, your own interest and your own tribe, so to speak. So I was talking to this Asian pair of women that are in gaming, and they were sketching some of the in the sculpture garden. I was sketching a Rodin for a while, but here, let me show you what I spent a little bit of time on. I found this piece just in one of the wandering around in one of the rooms right here, and let me center it up.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah, so
what's the name of it?
I probably didn't. I think I forgot to get the caption of the name of it. But this is obviously a bronze masterpiece. It's not that big. And I was sketching it from kind of like this angle. And what I was doing was, because I said this to the Asian woman, I was like, what I do is I sketch them, but I just change the faces and the clothing to be the characters in my sci-fi comics. And then she says, "Oh, I do the same thing in my for my gaming sequences." She's doing gaming sequences. So I'm apparently not the only one that's thought of this, but the art of sometimes it gets frustrating because if you go to the Rembrandt section and you're staring at these $1 million Rembrandts, it's mostly just portraits, and there's dozens of them, and it's really frustrating because, like, okay, did he ever do like a scene of like a nature scene and like a house in the woods, or did he? No, everything was just portraits, and here he is. There was a still life, and there was some, but it was a big deal that for hundreds of years in the Dark Ages, artists were not allowed to draw whatever they felt like. They had to draw religious themes or portraits of rich people and royalty, right? And you couldn't just do like the guy down the street because nobody was was paying for that, right? And you had to have like a patron, you know, in those days.
Well, you
And
do
so,
realize that it was all guilds. They were craftsmen. They were never referred to as artists. Nobody's referred to as an artist, I think, until, I mean, Albrecht Dürer proclaimed himself a individual artist, a creator, if you will. He's really the first one to do it publicly. And that was because there was the printing press, and he was making all of his money on illustrating the Bible and, you know, all that type of stuff. But until you get to literally 1500, anything prior to that was considered a craft and subordinate craft. It was like jewelers and gold workers, metal workers, you know, blacksmiths particularly, were way above an artist. So the Renaissance was that time where people were trying to figure out how to get out of lower guilds creatively and get into higher guilds to get more money from the papacy and patronage, the Medicis and stuff. So, you know, I have a huge issue with people trying to apply contemporary and even modern artist mentalities, the independent thinker and creator, to you know, Hieronymus Bosch or Peter Bruegel or Albrecht Dürer or Rembrandt, because they were running and operating a studio first and foremost, because they found a way to monetize a craft and be a part of a guild that would then throw work their way and then basically eke out a living. You know, even on top of what you were saying about Rembrandt, one of the most famous Rembrandt paintings, which was stolen from a museum in, you know, it was one of the biggest heists in art theft in Boston, Massachusetts. It's a garden, it's a woman's name. Anyhow, was Christ calming the waters, you know, with his disciples. And there's this, like, the only thing existing, I think, is this like black and white transparency that was taken for the book that held, you know, the catalog of those images there. And rumor has it that he painted that not only in the hopes of selling it to somebody, but he was very connected to the story. In other words, the story was very emotional for him, and he had to, you know, see it out on paper. So it's not saying that nobody was like independently trying to create something, but it's definitely, there's a huge division between what we're experiencing in the last 150 years-ish, where the independent artist is really taking hold in our society, to then all before it. The mentality is not the same in the sense of like, and also what they had to struggle against when it came to, you know, society as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying. When I was at the Met with my students 2 weeks ago, and you know, I tried to convey to them that, you know, a painting, like a portrait of a person in those days, we're talking about the 1500s, the 1600s, that was like technology, right? That was
Yeah.
That was like what we consider like the computer or the movie, you know, nowadays, because you could imagine that you could have hundreds or thousands of people see your picture and you're not even there, you know. And then it's like, you know, when
Henry VIII was married, what, like 5 or 6 times? And every single one of those women had their portraits painted because he wanted to see how hot they were.
Right. He wanted, right.
And so he supposedly also had like rejection portraits. So he was paying somebody, you know, a tidy sum of money to paint a portrait, you know, probably a small 8x10 or something like that. And then that would get shipped to him because they were over in Europe, you know, they were French or Dutch or Austrian or something like that. But yeah, that was the game. Like, you know, I want to see how hot. So here's a couple Bob, you know, get somebody to paint it for me.
Yeah, well, and so, you know, you bring up a good point, and the point there is like it was, you know, it was for the elites, you know, to have your picture painted, especially by a master painter, you know, like Leonardo da Vinci, you know, and you know, who are these people? Well, you spoke about the Medici family, you know, and they, you know, they really invested a lot in art. They became a sponsor of the art, but they also owned and controlled the art. So now you're talking about, you know, people that are coming to churches that they would not come to otherwise, because there was this great technology there called art, and you could just gawk at it, you know. And instead of, you know, looking at the same stuff, you know, in your four, you know, looking at your same four walls all day, you could look at, you know, Christ on the cross, or you could look at Zeus and, you know, like getting mad at you know, Mount Olympus, or any of these kind of fantastic escapes, you know. And that's all there was. There was just drawing and painting, you know, in those days. And so, you know, we have so much to take for granted now, that we're in this information age where we can see, you know, Vin Diesel, you know, escaping, you know, a car that's exploding off a cliff, and we're like, you know, I don't want to see another action movie. But, you know,
I was just watching something last night, and a neuroscientist was being interviewed about dementia and Alzheimer's, and why it's been on the rise for the last, like, you know, let's say 50 to 60 years. You know, it's like increasing. And his paper is based on non-processed gorging on information, or you know, content, if you will. So there was a huge spike in Alzheimer's and dementia, literally 2 years after social media hit iPhones. Because what happens is our brains need constant remapping. In other words, it needs constant problems to solve in order for it to not go into atrophy.
Puzzles. Yeah.
Exactly. And so old people started putting down the crossword puzzles and started trying to do the crossword puzzles on Facebook or some other app. But what was happening is where you know, things were popping up before the crossword puzzle digitally on the phone, and then they would go down 2 hours worth of unprocessable information. So it's something. He actually even went into a tirade about AI, and he believes there's going to be an even more increase in early onset Alzheimer's if you're not creating creative problems. In other words, you're not trying to be a painter, like not a professional painter, like a person who goes out, takes an easel, sets it up, and figures out how to take all these colors and brushes onto a canvas and make a picture of the thing that they see. When you do that, you create all of this open processing in your brain that goes against atrophy, and atrophy is the major cause of Alzheimer's and now this is based on this neuroscientist who's just published a book on it, you know, and he's moving through all the podcasts or the ones at least that I'm watching, and it's very fascinating. If you look at the longevity, other than alcohol or drug abuse, of artists, you know, you're like, this happens to me all the time. Like, I'm like, wow, I wonder if that guy or woman is still alive, that creator, you know. And then you Google them and you get the Wikipedia, 97 years old. You're like, holy shit, you know what I mean? And you go one more step and you look at, you know, they just had a show at the Cleveland Art Museum on, you know, recent works in the last eight years in you know, brush and ink. You're like, what the hell? Well, that's why they made it to 97.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that, you find an artist and then you whip out your phone because you want to see if they're still alive. And then you see a pop-up of, a headline in the New York Post, and then you start reading it, and then you forget about what you were doing 2 seconds before. I thought that's where you were going.
It's very much the same way though. It's very much the same, Jake.
No, but that's a
We're not
demonstration
giving
of
ourselves.
what's
Yeah, we're
happening to us.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what's happening to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you do something even worse, and this is me throwing on top of it, is you become emotionally involved in something that you have little to no control over. And it's really not being subjective to how you're actually going on with your life. So it makes you sick. It
Well,
makes you physically
this
sick, or it makes you emotionally sick, so on and so forth. So
and you just brought up something now. You just touched on something now
yeah, we
that
just got to be careful because we're heading up to 11:30. Well, Ralph should be popping on with us. So just to make that note. But continue, my friend. Continue.
yeah. So we are in an age of complete and total manipulation, and I'm not kidding around. There's a degree where we all think that it's happening to other people,
Yep.
but I'm the first one to tell you, that I'm hook, line, and sinker for all this stuff, because I might waste, like an hour a day, let's say, arguing with people online, who are clearly wrong. And
You don't even know if they're human, though, Jake. That's the scarier part.
you
You
don't
don't
know,
even know.
well,
You don't even
if they're
fucking know. They say 60% of the people you argue with on X are robots.
yeah, that's true. But if you're in your Facebook group in your local neighborhood,
Doesn't
these
matter, man. They still can infiltrate that. Come on, man.
No. I'm talking about, who the person is, like on the
Oh,
street.
you're arguing with your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sorry.
Right. Like, you see these people at the picnic and all that. So you know, we're being so, because you said that, we get distracted by something that we have no control over. But that's not what we're sold. You're sold that if only you made a comment on this guy's post, that you would put them right, and everybody else would see that, and that's why we have this system of likes and comments and replies and everything. And we have this whole politics now of, oh, you just got ratioed by the internet, and so that proves you're wrong, and stuff like that. And you don't know or maybe you do, but the endorphin rush that somebody gets when they wake up in the morning and they see that their post has like 200 likes or 1,000 likes, or when you're talking about like a reporter, or you're talking about a politician, they might have like tens of thousands, if not millions, of likes on something overnight. And what that does is your body releases a chemical that you would have to pay your dope dealer, like, at least $50 to $100 for in the old days. But now it's being released and coursing through your veins, and everything is telling you the same thing over and over. You have to do this more. You have to get more likes and reviews and comments and everything. And honestly, what you said before about the number of bots that are out there and how manipulated this all really is, that like how much of a real matrix this is, just a show. You're not kidding, and they also have a way of, um, you know, pumping up your likes and responses, to make you think you have a new follower and a new friend and everything. But what they're really just doing is setting you up for a future manipulation. That's how sophisticated things are getting. I mean, it's the same thing like with advertising. With advertising campaigns, they do not try to get the person to. They do not always, I should say, try to get the person to buy the product on the first ad. Like the first ad just might be a setup of a character like the Hamburglar or something, And then once you're, used to perking up every time the Hamburglar appears on the screen, because you're only 6 years old, then they deliver, the punch at the very end. Like, come into McDonald's for, 2-for-1 hamburgers, every Tuesday. That's when they get you. And Kurt, it's nothing different from what you've been preaching, for the indie creator and like actual people, is like you have to develop an audience, you have to get them to trust you, you have to get them to interact with you, and then when you have a product to sell that they can use in their life, then now that's when you pitch it. So yeah, we're in this like very sophisticated kind of like Madison Avenue on steroids period where as I speak, people are all aware, whether you're, no matter how you fall on politics, we are all manipulated left and right, and we are being fed exactly or very, very close to what George Orwell described, is propaganda for the masses in order to tell us that up is down, black is white, and what you're seeing isn't what you're seeing. And just to timestamp this a little bit more, we're broadcasting today. It's 11:29, so I'm watching the clock. We're broadcasting today on February 8th, which is about a week after the balance of all the Epstein files have been released to the public. And people are seeing now in real life what we've been plotting in our science fiction story for years, is that, and it's, this has been, a lot of people have always spoken about, there's a secret cabal, of people that control the world and everything. And we're getting a really good look right now at how this one particular finance billionaire was involved with world leaders and with other billionaires. There's pictures of him sitting around a table with Elon and Zuckerberg and and all those guys, like in 2017, and they all know full well that Epstein was up on charges by then, and it didn't seem to matter. So they're still piecing it all together. But I'm just saying, like, this timestamp right now is just another notch towards the story that Kurt and I have been working on for the end of the world timeline, where there's this family. They figure out how to just consolidate everything into one big corporate network, and they feed the people everything they need to survive. But they basically take all of their treasure and all of their resources, little by little, every single day, a little bit more, and they get the people to be their biggest advocates for them instead of themselves, for billionaires instead of themselves. And this is no different from a Conan episode where you have all of the serfs and they all worship the king instead of hating the king, because the king has got his special guard and they're all like full of fear and and just submission, that they willingly turn over their firstborn or whatever. And this has been since time immemorial, the story of like a controlling ruler and a pyramid of people at the bottom. And you spoke about the guilds, right? How artists were only allowed to make these scenes of the emperors like killing dragons. It was all bull. And Christianity did that. They did that in Muslim. They did that in Asia.
Yeah, but once again, you're trying to apply our time frame and sensibilities to 2,000 years ago. Like you're trying to establish and maintain, sure. But it's not true. There's theory. That there's
forever. It's just been around forever.
What's been around forever?
I mean, the technology is different, but the idea of a king or a pharaoh controlling the masses by selling them stories, literally stories of them defeating a dragon. That's the history of humankind and their servitude towards these powerful figures. And you look at the analog in in the Muslim world, in the Christian world, you have Saint George killing the dragon, and it's like they just wanted to get in on the act, like, but dragons aren't real.
Yeah, but it all goes. Have you how much Gilgamesh do you know? Like, not only the story of Gilgamesh, like the whole story of Gilgamesh, but it being the first story of what we would call a human becoming superhuman, like getting superpowers. Have you ever how far have you jumped down into that hole?
Well, I know I show like a clip of Beowulf, but
no, Gilgamesh.
Not Gilgamesh. No, I know. And because that's more in the literature than the visual art. But I'm listening. I know we're up against the time line here, but at another segment, I definitely want you to lay down the Gilgamesh.
So Ralph is getting set up and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, it's I think the wild thing we're experiencing right now is on this device, you literally have access to all the information in the world. You just need to know how to access that information, but more importantly, you need to learn how to discern that information. In other words, you could come across somebody saying something and you're like, wow, never knew that. That must be true. And I work under a behavior that if I get enamored with something, I've got to find 3 other separate places, people or groups that verify that information. Not the person and what they're saying, but the information that they is. And that in all sincerity is exactly what you and I always bring back any of these social political conversations to, is the comics, the stories, the realism that you want to try to weave into your content. We got Ralph, he's coming in, so let's break from this and welcome Ralph. Ralph, there he is. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
How
are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. I don't know if this is going to scare you off, but you're our first indie creator to come in while Jake and I have been hard at work on our Turbo Pit Fighter or our Doommags #1. So we really want to thank you for being somebody that comes in and shares with us what they're doing, and then even have a bigger talk. But welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
No problem.
No, I appreciate it. I feel honored.
Yeah. So usually Kurt and I would do some workshop time making our comic, and then we would film another episode where we were doing an indie creator exchange. And Kurt was like showing the person's work, and the person was talking about it. Sometimes they're there, we can see their face and everything. And I was usually just continuing to draw like I did in the regular episode. So now what we're doing a little different is we're just doing our regular production.
That's nice.
And we're just bringing in some interviews, because Kurt can separate the files later on and make it into an episode of Indie Creator Exchange. So folks, and Kurt will probably have to edit this out because I just had to explain this whole thing. But if you're just tuning in, welcome to an episode of Indie Creator Exchange featuring we have Ralph Nixon, Under God. And the question that we usually ask to start things off is bring us back to the beginning. Think about your childhood, your first influences, and what was your first awareness of the comic book scene, the comic book world?
And before you answer, Ralph, can you keep showing those amazing original pages of your art as you give your answers, please?
Oh yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna draw along with you guys. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
If that's cool.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just growing up, like first of all, like reading. I'm gonna have to bring these books out. They're like the old eerie and creepy comics from Harvey
Hell yeah.
Press, I believe. Yeah. I mean, it was like a long time ago. Like there were these old, like horror, like sci-fi books, and Vampirella also. So I had a lot of that. That was a big influence. We would sneak in my dad's office and read those, and to this day I have every single one of those issues in mint condition. Just I'll never
Nice.
sell them. They're like old friends. So
That is.
um,
That's the source.
yes, yes, sir, it is. So that, and 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 also like and also manga and stuff, like all of it. It's a clash of all of that stuff. I like it all. I love it all. I grew up with both, with the American and the Western and Eastern influence. So I like it both equally. So I don't, you know, so I'm kind of like in the middle.
Yeah,
So
fun.
yeah.
So now tell us, like, was there an age or a year that you first remember, coming in contact with Marvel and DC, which are like, kind of like the, for America anyway, the really the jumping off where it really penetrated the U.S. household, and
Yes.
became a name: Batman, Superman, all that kind of stuff. You go from, like, the late 30s all the way to, I would say, the 90s, maybe, when indies, or the 80s or the 90s, when indies got on the map. But there was this long period where it was mostly about superheroes and stuff. So what was your like first encountering with that whole world?
I would have to say in the late '80s, early '90s. So it was in that era when the X-Men, the '90s cartoon came out. Like that was, I mean, my dad, he had the old like Iron Man, and all that stuff laying around, the Conan the Barbarians and stuff. Um, but
Love
I
to
would have
hear.
to, yeah, but I would have to say around the early '90s, late '80s, about that era is
Okay.
when I got into the Marvel and DC stuff. When I really, got into the characters and, you
Right.
know, got kind of gravitated towards it.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah.
you're definitely, you're young, and you're learning, and you're getting exposure. Now tell us about, for one question is, do you have any art training? And then you could talk about, school or whatever, and then and bring us in towards, like, you're starting to make comics yourself.
Um, no, actually, no, I have no training in art. I
Man.
just
Whew.
self-taught. I just picked it up
Hmm.
because I wanted it so bad. And you just look at panels that when you're a kid and you're just trying to copy them and trying to understand like how do they do that. So
Well,
um,
yeah, drawing. Well, that's drawing from observation, which is
yes.
self training. But both Kurt and I have both, like, I'm an art teacher in a middle school all day long, and Kurt,
Oh.
worked with lots of different age groups, trying to give instructions to people that are looking for help to get better. But there's just this, like, phenomenon of people who can just, like, pick up a pencil and just start doing their own style. So bring us through, like, what kind of stuff you first started working on, and then, like, when you were trying to settle in on what your genre or style was going to be.
Um, I let's see. Yeah, that's a good one because it's like I said, it's kind of a clash of all of the stuff that I like, and it just kind of, I guess, on a subconscious level, it just kind of slips in. But the manga stuff I really like. But but with the American stuff, what I like about it is, I mean, yeah, I grew up with it, but the storytelling as well. I mean, the different ways of how they tell stories here in the West compared over into the East. You know, like I do like the diverse ways of the approach of that. I hope I'm saying this. I'm giving the right answer.
Well, it sounds
I
like
feel like I'm.
it sounds like you're it sounds like you're the generation that is kind of like inculcated on manga just as much as American comics as you're growing up, which is a big difference between Kurt and I, who are in our 50s. You know, you know, it was really like this whole Marvel and DC dominance, you know, and then
Yeah.
you see like other stuff like, you know, like movies, you know, and other influences. But did you start off like drawing in the classroom when you're bored, or did you take that on later? When did you actually start making like sequential comic pages?
Shoot, man. When I was like, as soon as we broke into my dad's office, we just started. So they're probably about five, around 5 or 7.
Nice.
So yeah, early.
Yeah,
So yeah, I have
interesting.
my copy.
And yeah, I
Okay.
mean that is important, like developmental stuff. Like those are only for you to see, really. But you know, or sometimes people put them out, you know, because it's a lot of fun. But if you you know, if you trace that through your maturation, you know, as an artist, and then you know your exposure to other things that influence you, is how you end up, you know, where you end up getting to, right? And
Yes.
so what was the first thing that you actually published or had published?
Um, it's funny. Actually, Under God. Yeah, I have to say that. That's my first book. I actually tried getting into slave labor. If you guys remember that.
Oh yeah, me too. I tried as well.
I have my rejection letter.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that they said it was bad. It was that like we're such a small company, you
Yeah.
know, we only do
Yeah.
like 4 things a year,
Yes.
but we really appreciate your work so much. It was
Yeah.
such a nice letter.
Oh, you got a nice letter.
Yeah,
My
I
letter.
mean, I'm talking about the '90s. My letter was in the mid '90s, I'm sure, but
Yeah. No, no. I freaking. I love the work in this. By the way. Um.
Oh, we'll get to
but
that. We'll get to
oh
that.
Yeah. No.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like.
Not at
I
all. Not at
know.
all.
But
Not at all.
But
slave
yeah.
labor
No.
was they gave you a little opportunity.
Well, they said. Well, I was a teenager, and they were like. And and I look back at my work, at what I put. I mean, they're like, hey, the work is good, but who the heck uses the word? I don't know if you guys cuss on here or not, but who the heck uses the F word this many times in every other sentence? And I look back at them like, yeah.
Okay, so some commercial advice for you.
So it was cool. It was
Yeah,
a good memory.
fair enough. So you put something out. Oh, so you reached out to them, and then you ended up putting out your own stuff, and you ended up publishing it on your own.
Yeah, I just started, just. I mean, I still, love creating regardless, and I decided. I said, why won't I just do my own thing?
Yeah,
So it just kind of branched off from there, and I realized like there's like people doing zines and also like doing the indie stuff as well. And I didn't, I realized there was a whole world into that,
There's
in that
people
whole.
just like me on the internet.
Yes.
and so you said it was called Under God, and what year did it come out?
Under God.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, last year.
Okay.
2024. Well,
Yeah.
you have here, yeah, 2024. It was towards the end of 2024, right?
Yes. I
Ralph? Yeah.
finished it then, but then I had to get the funds for it. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now with the machining. Um, but hey, oh yeah. Besides that, Jake, I'll be sending you a copy, so uh, be
Oh, okay.
keeping on lookout. Okay, so
Yeah, no worries.
you'll get your copy.
Thanks. Yeah, no rush. I have a big to read pile, so no rush. Thank you. But
Yeah.
it's definitely appreciated. It looks like great stuff. I didn't realize that you're just kind of starting out in the last couple of years. So that I think it's great to look at the perspective of somebody coming into this now when there's like quick printing available.
Hmm.
When Kurt and I were doing this in the '90s, you really had to go through a company, honestly, if you wanted to get stuff, printed. I mean,
Yeah.
we both did that, and it was a way, to seeing your stuff in a comic store. Oh wow, how exciting!
Yeah.
But the availability of quick printing has changed the ball game, so that you can order 50 copies of a comic. You're just paying a little bit more for each copy, but you can put stuff out on your own, and you could go to a convention and table it, or you could go to a retailer and say, hey, you want to carry this,
Yeah.
or you could sell copies, on your, out of a baby carriage on the street, like whatever you do. And we're going to ask, what you do as far as like social media and marketing and stuff like that comes a little bit after. But um let's talk about your
Well, Jake, I
style.
got let's.
Yeah.
I one of my biggest questions is who's doing the printing for you, Ralph?
Oh, Total Printing Press.
Total Printing Press. Now, are you doing batches?
Yeah.
Is that sort of your MO and trying to get a lower price point, and then you're selling them just right there on your website?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the only, that's the way I'm doing it instead of doing the Kickstarter
Yep.
because, I just want to just kind of just swing it my own way. And,
Yeah.
like even right now, I haven't been on streaming and doing that stuff, but I've been working on my own, I'm still working on the book. And
Yeah, I
also I
mean,
have a new project. But go ahead.
we hope that helps. We hope someone's going to see this and say, hey, this is some nice stuff. I wanted to go over it a little bit more in terms of like the visual art. So take us through your typical process that you settled into. You're working on real paper, pencils first, then inks? What kind of tools you use, etc.?
I work on real paper, yes. And I work with pencils. I rough it out, real quick. Or I rough it out, and then I'm pretty familiar with the characters, so I try to go from there. But sometimes I'll have to go back. But anyways, pencils, ink, and then I erase, and then we're done.
And then what are you using to ink?
Or I use Speedball right now. I have it open at the moment. Using
Speedball.
some
So you're using
Speedball
a brush,
calligraphy ink. No, I'm using nibs actually.
steel nibs. Okay, awesome. So you're an old fashioned but self taught. How about that?
Yeah,
Kurt?
Old fashioned.
yeah. These are
Look at
my
that.
tools.
Right on. Yeah.
Well,
So
this is how I found Ralph. And I'm pretty sure I've been following Ralph since 2024, if not by the
Yeah,
end of 2024. I think is his inking is exactly what he just showed. The video came up. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Neat title card. I like that. I like that. Manga style there, and it's hand ink. And I think you even had, just like you have right now, you had your gloved hand with the nib pen. I was like,
yeah.
oh shit, he's gone old school. Let me check it out. And boom, subscribe. Anytime you're up on YouTube, I'm watching you do your thing, man. So that
I
is
appreciate
the
it,
thing.
man.
Yeah, that's how I found you.
And that's the
um,
crazy part. That's the thing is like I've been watching you guys as well. So it's like vice versa. Like I've been watching you guys, and I was like seeing who's like in the indie scene, who
Yeah.
was creating, and I found you guys' channel. This is long before I even had my own channel.
right. I mean, we
That's cool.
create we create during our Sunday morning thing, but we also have been networking with so many other creators. Probably like a dozen, or like probably 2 dozen a year at this point. So it's
Oh
so
wow.
cool.
Yeah.
We have like Kurt, how many episodes do we have so far?
Oh gosh, over 40. I think 40, 45. But we started it, I remember, because going back and listening to Jake and I talk about what was going on in comics,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, we would make some kind of statement, but it sounded so much like a question. And sometimes it was like that Jake would say, Kurt, is that how it is? I'm like, I don't know. I've been out of the game for like, 8 years. And so I said, well, why don't we just start inviting people on and talk? And everybody we talk to just absolutely has their own journey, but they have so many different ways they can come about and resolving making a comic book. So that's the thing we love the most.
Yeah, and that's what I that's what I looked for. That's what I was like seeing who was doing what I was doing, and I ran into you guys. I watched you guys several times and subscribed, of course. So yeah, it's really cool that now it's like funny. Like now I'm actually here on you guys' channel with you guys drawing.
I think it's awesome. I think
is
that's
cool.
it's a lot of what Jake and I talk about in our sort of like mission statement is it helps us keep on point and making a comic 3 hours a week now, on a Sunday, but it also keeps this connection to a greater world of just awesome creators.
So next question. Who is your flagship character? What's your number one character and what's the story?
I would say Sevens in October, Under God. And right now, since I can't give too much, but I can give it briefly, it's about, Sevens in October, two characters from different times, I'll say that, traversing the world of Primera, and they're dealing with the religion of Belamo, the moon god, and the cannibals that reside on the planet, and all kinds of crazy stuff that they're also going to meet. So also the characters that come along the way too, because it's not only those two characters, but see, I'm like going off the path, but that's what so far that's what Under God's about.
This is the path, actually.
Hey, Commandy, do you have any background in Commandy, Ralph?
Jack Kirby's Commandy?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Jack Kirby's Commandy. Did you ever get into that work?
Oh, some of his work, he always does the guys with the crazy eyebrows, doesn't he? Like I mean, I love his work because it stands out. I know who you're talking about, Jack Kirby. Yes.
Yeah, Jack Kirby created like half of the Marvel characters. Did you have something that, like, what sets apart your character? And the name is what was it? October 7th?
October. Sevens is the guy, and October is the dragon girl.
Okay, got it. And was that did you do that after October 7th in real life or before?
It was like way before. It was like years. Like this story, it's been in the making for like years until I finally felt it was right.
Wow.
You ever had that?
Well,
it took 10 years or 20 years to finally, say, you know what, it's finally right.
Yeah, 10
like
years sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's like Turbo, it's been like 20 for us, but there's characters sitting around that you make up when you're like 4 years old.
Yeah. The characters, there's something I always say. It's like the characters they've always been around. They're just like waiting for you to get to where you need to be until they feel like you're ready to draw them. It's like, I know it sounds crazy, but
no,
I kind of look at it like that.
Crazy but true.
Yep.
All right. So give us the completeness of what you've put out then. So it was only the one comic, and then was there anything else, or is that in production?
There's that book. The volume 2's out too. It's downloadable right now. I'm working on getting the physicals, which is very soon. Volume 3, which I'm currently finishing up, should be on its way as well.
So it's
I'm
Under
I'm
God.
busting ass over here. Huh?
That's cool. So it's called Under God, and people
Yeah.
can order a physical copy of number 1, and number 2 is available on digital.
Yes.
Right. All right.
Physical
Remember that,
soon.
viewers, and pick up this thing. Support these artists. This is a rather good one. It looks like from here. I mean, I'm seeing some
That's
like
cool,
Red
man.
Sonja kind of vibes, but that's probably because like Red Sonja's being published like 6 times a month now by somebody on there. How are you on the sword and sorcery stuff? Is it
Oh,
something you keep an eye
I,
on, or have you ever
I'm
worked with?
down into that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm down into that stuff. Like I like that kind of stuff, especially like the barbarian girls. Like I know, sorry. Because of man, what's his name? And this is not right that I'm forgetting his name. Oh, Frank Frazetta. Yes,
Yes.
he's a big influence in my work as well. Like I
Sure,
love his
all
work.
of us. I know. Like how much you can learn about how he did his stuff is about as good as you can get in my book. um, but yeah, but it's also interesting to learn history, and
Yes.
he came from a line of other cartoonists, and so on and so on. So there's always a lot to learn, because if you get good because you're exposed to seeing some great art, well, what happens if you get exposed to some more great art then, right?
Yeah.
That'll only add to your superpowers. All right, so
There's
Kurt, if you want to get into the next phase, go ahead.
With a promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the next phase is. Do you hear that?
It sounds like wind.
But it's only when you and I talk.
Yes, you're right. It might be ghosting
I don't hear it.
That is strange.
on a delay.
Maybe. That
All
is
right.
really
Well,
strange.
these are the ancient ancestors of the
Hey.
whales that are. Yeah.
Now, can you do me a favor, Jake? Can you jump
Yeah.
out and jump back in? Let's see if that kind of corrects it.
No problem. I'll see you guys in a minute.
This all gets edited out.
Oh, all right. Oh, this ain't live.
Well, we are live, but God bless anybody that makes it this far. You know what I mean? Like it's. Are you still there, Jake? What's going on? What is he doing? Oh, dude, what are you doing? There he goes. Okay, cool. Testing 1, 2, 3. It's still doing it on my side.
I was checking out the Secret Chronicles of the Duke. Looking at what you're drawing.
As I say, there's always a first time for everything, and this might actually, if anybody's in the YouTube, can you give us feedback on whether you're hearing this muffling?
Saboteur.
And Ralph, do me a favor, jump out and then jump back in. Let me see if that has anything.
Okay. All right, let me jump out.
Yeah, I think it was him. All right, let's see what happens when he jumps back in. That's really weird.
I'm trying to fix my arm here because I was too low. So I didn't get a chance to put my application in.
Well, you better do it soon.
I know. I better do it. I want to do it today.
Hope so.
What do you have to put in? A couple of links?
Yeah, and like I said, it would be good, I think, if you had a comic art fan account.
I do.
Start posting some. I actually brushed mine up, and I have to do one more gallery full of all my, not all of it, but I'm going to throw in about 5 pieces for the Turbo Pit Fighter stuff.
Why don't you take a look? Take a look at. I can give you a link. vonghouls.com/comics. It's my band site, and I just keep like all the photos there on like a link tree. If you want to see the selections I have right there, it's like, Turbo cover number 1 is the first piece.
Yeah, but the comic art fans is original art, so you want to actually show like the physical art, because there's an option there to sell it.
Yeah, how many pieces though?
I think it's unlimited.
I know, but how many pieces do you want to have up there for your application?
No, I'm doing all my own. I have my own Turbo art.
No, on Comic Art Fans, my question is, how many pieces do you have up there for sale?
I don't know. I mean, I don't right now. I'm not trying to sell that much, but probably 20 or something.
That's a lot. All right, so before I submit my application, you think I should put more pieces on there? I might only have like 1 piece on there.
Yeah, I would definitely add to it. I think it's, I mean, from the secret meeting with Kazra and Matt, for the IC3 and the expansion that they're working on, they were very animate about, using the CAF site, more than just a social media type of thing, like as social media, but more because you can, engage each other. You have the online sales, the shows and everything. So I think it's definitely something to become more and more privy to. So
have you sold a piece through them?
I can't remember because I've been using them for a long time. They had this thing where you can link it to eBay. So I know I have sold pieces, and then on eBay, I don't know if they came directly through eBay or they saw it on CAF and then jumped over. All right, here we go.
Yeah, because what happens if you want to sell a print? They don't allow that or something?
So Jake, yeah, you're good. Yeah, it was actually you had some sort of feedback, Ralph, and your camera's coming in. And like I said, we are totally, low brow here when it comes to technology and so. What happened? We lost him again. The idea is that you want to promote yourself as a physically making artist, and you've been very animate about wanting to sell your art, so put your art up there.
Right, but I know. But
prints and everything should be then to your website.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So, yeah,
not at all.
I don't really sell prints off the website because of sales tax.
All right, I'm back.
Sales tax. Are you using your phone, Ralph?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What model phone do you have?
I just got this one.
Oh, so you got one of the newer ones.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm having.
Oh, most definitely, because you're coming in at like 1280p. I mean,
really?
Yeah, and like I said, Riverside's great, but it totally depends on we keep losing him. Because he's actually at too high of a data, but they use our browsers for basically a majority of the work. So it's pretty wild. All right, let's see what's going on here.
All right. I'm not gonna push anything else. I
No, it's
apologize.
fine. Not at all, dude. Not at all, dude. No, none of us are geniuses here in the world of like doing it. You know what I mean? None of us are 20 somethings just flying through the world on podcasts and gaming consoles. But
Can you guys see my screen or no? Or...
No, it looks like it's still trying to load in, and it's probably because you have such a high you have such a high quality camera. We're gonna need you. We're gonna need you to move to an older phone. Can you do that for us?
I know. I'm like so far. I'm gonna get my whole computer desktop set up, and then I need to go get a webcam. Like focus on that.
Yeah, I that was my other question. Was definitely the setup you have, because you run a really excellent YouTube channel. In my books, Ralph, in my books of like not going like total land portrait mode, and then you got all that black space on either side, or they're talking like this, and you're like, what the hell? And so I got to jam it up to like 36 on the volume. So if they then put ads in, the next thing you know, my neighbors are banging on the wall telling me to shut the, you know what I mean? So no, dude, you're totally fine.
So
and we just keep, as long as we have your voice talking at this point, I'm not too, and we're heading, we're more than halfway through, talking and stuff, because, the promotion part of it, I really just, I don't have any questions because I thoroughly follow you. And I follow you because you are doing, in my opinion, strategy wise, everything correct. You run a YouTube channel. You promote your book constantly. You update what's going on with your book, even when you take a hiatus or you got work or, whatever it is. You have your own website. You're all in on, being an indie creator, and comics is obviously a part of just being an independent, creator. And, you're doing it. If there's anything you want to add, because when I cut this out, I'm going to put all the links down below in the description for your episode on Indie Creator Exchange. But is there anything you want to share in the way, positive or negative, when it comes to promoting your comic Under God?
I guess I can start with the negative first.
Cool.
And I'll be honest, like right now, because of the approach that I'm going for, I'm slacking in promoting and marketing the book at the moment right now, because of, it's like I'm taking a sacrifice to, but it's a good sacrifice. It's a meaningful time, but right now that's my negative. Like, I understand I'm not streaming as much, or I'm not barely on because I'm dealing with, the schooling stuff and the machining stuff. And also, but I'm also working on the book still, but I haven't,
Yeah, but I also want to personally express something to you and anybody else.
Yeah.
When you started posting the stuff about the machinist, I have to say, because I'm so locked in on you, I was excited to hear that you were returning to something that you're, I don't know, maybe equally, if not greater than, excited about doing, in your life. And on top of, and I'm talking, this is, in my opinion, healthy promotion. You say, hey, going to take a hiatus from social media. Peace, see you later.
Yeah.
which once again, do it, baby. That's what I say. I'll be like, hey, no problem. Yeah. And then 3 weeks later, there's a video, and there's Ralph, and he's showing off everything, because you're still working, making stuff like that. You're like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean?
Haven't given
like,
up.
And
throw something in?
Go do it.
So, and guys, so when you're on social media, like the negative part of it is how the algorithms can suck you in to try to sell you commercial stuff or whatever.
Yes.
And but you can also like treat it as a Zoom call with a bunch of colleagues or just people that are working at the same time. Now, I was going to ask you, because you're balancing your work life, do you have a regular schedule where you do your comics, and is that like Sunday afternoons and mornings?
No, like, okay, in the morning, that's like my work and study time. But sometimes it slips at night. I'll start studying programming at night. But like, um, I try to have it to where I'm doing, and I have to force myself, programming stuff and machining stuff in the morning, and in the afternoon, that's drawing, straight up drawing until nighttime, till bedtime, and then do it over again.
And Kurt mentioned that you're on YouTube doing that. Are you live streaming any of this on YouTube
No,
Oh,
the YouTube stuff, I'm stepping away because it's like now I'm doing a juggling act now. Now there's
that
literally
was
three
before you
things
had
of
to
juggle.
study. That was before you had to
So
study so much. Okay.
I figured, if I just build it up, I build up my work, come back on YouTube, when I show up, because um and on top of that, it's for a peace of mind. It gives me a peace of mind,
Good.
like
Good for you.
that's why I step away from social media, because it sometimes you just need a peace of mind. And I'll just say
All the
this.
time.
Yes. Oh, yes. Especially I do this stuff for therapy. I do my work as therapy and as
Good
well.
for
This
you.
is,
Yes.
like I like creating escapism, creating new worlds, and
Yes.
creating places where people can see what's going on in your freaking head. Like this is the vision.
And you do it
And
very well. You do it very well. But keep going. Keep going.
that's how I feel personally. And I think the last time I had to step away, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just stop streaming for a bit and just focus on the work, because I'll just say in quotations, a fan, I'll say, and I just say it sarcastically. They had to give me a piece of their mind, and tell me all the bad stuff about what they thought, but never brought up the characters or anything. Just had to, like, I'm gonna show you how to build a house, but
I don't
here's
build
no,
houses.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Oh
like
yeah. Oh yeah. We know that. We know that character. We know that
there's like
character.
it's like if I'm using a screwdriver as a hammer and
Right.
I'm hammering a freaking nail with a screwdriver, and someone comes along and they don't suggest a hammer, but they had to give me a piece of their mind, but they're saying I'm giving you advice, but they don't ever suggest a hammer. It's just
It's like the person on the road who's getting onto the highway where you
yeah,
are, and it's like they stick out halfway, like not enough to go, but just like to show you that they're there,
yeah,
and maybe causing an accident right in your way.
yes,
So you basically had an individual take a critical amount of energy and time to express their opinion on how you're approaching their passion,
I yeah,
right?
I
So
that's what I got
so
out of it. Yeah,
so yeah, and because there's a couple of individuals, I wouldn't want to lump you guys together, but I've seen them get viciously attacked in comments on
yeah.
how the work isn't manga, and
Oh,
how you
Oh,
need to, and then how you need to learn how to draw, and you should read these books, and so on and
oh,
so forth. And
oh,
it's
yes.
like one of the guys I've been trying to reach for over 2 years now. Now
Mm,
I think he does have, he's a bit outside of the socializing abilities, if you will. I can't be assured. I can't be assured of it, but
yeah.
things indicate. I mean, I've even reached out to his mother through Facebook, but I find his work to be so passionate, and he just hammers these pages out and tells the story and go on and go on. And I watch these people make these asinine comments like they're going to wring any kind of truth or like change the bearings. And then I'm sitting back going, why? If you don't like this, go away, move down the road to the next. But they can't, because, and you know this for a truth. You know this for a truth. You know what I'm going to say, Ralph, is they can't even do what they see. And they don't. They don't. And I have been attacked a couple times too. Now, the way somebody told me how to deal with it. And and this, I think, is the best way to deal with quote unquote haters.
Yes.
Is you have to thank them for at least expressing themselves. I don't think you don't have to. You don't have to really. Oh, thank you, John. You know, I'll take that. You don't have to do
Thanks
that.
for the ass kicking.
Yeah, thanks for kicking me in the gut. And then once I would go down on my knees, you punch me in the back of the ear. You know what I mean? Yeah, I get it, bully boy. I get it, bully boy. But this is the point. Take core feeling in that you are doing something only 1 in 10,000 people are willing to do.
Huh.
Think of it that way.
Thought of it like that.
No, do it. Now look, out of those 10,000 people, 9,000 plus want to make a comic, want to make a manga, want to be famous, want to be rich, want to be noted, want to be cool, want to be. I don't want to be any of that. I just want to make. I just want to make my comic book.
Yes, that's how I feel. I just want to tell my story, do my work, and people like it or not, that's fine. But I just want to get it out before I, pass on to off this plane. That's how I feel personally.
I just go ahead, Jake.
Do you ever you said it was therapeutic for you? Do you ever like take out what's actually happening in your real life in dialogue and in scenes in your pages?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I'm reading this book. Kurt, I don't know if you want to flash this on the screen, but I'm reading this book about Robert Crumb, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier. Not only did the guy like have this like visual art style where he's just throwing down what you're doing, steel nib, ink, with a quick pencil sketch, and he's making these incredible cartoons that were like, the beginning of underground comics. Yeah. So he was sitting around with people and all of these like stoners back in the 60s and 70s and 71, and he was just making comics about exactly the things that they were saying, things that they were doing, and he was turning them to like animal creatures, and he was having fun with them, but it was like so in the moment autobiographical. Do you ever like where do you get ideas for your storylines?
Pretty much from life, like a lot from experiencing life like that, people I've ran into, even other people's experiences and stuff. So it's like a kind of a blend of all that. So I take the situations and try to implement them into my own, or apply it into my own work or situations, or in my storytelling or something like, or even in characters,
What kind of conflicts? What kind of conflicts do you write?
What kind of conflict do I write?
Yeah, who are the sides and the conflicts in your story? Every story has conflicts, I assume. Maybe I'm assuming too much.
There is, yeah. There's like a lot of conflicting.
Like, is there a bad guy?
Yeah, there is. He is, but also on top of that, I don't want to just be like black and white with it.
Good.
I want to have the gray tones in there.
Good.
There was like a deity or something?
Yeah, Belimo. Yes, he's the moon god. But he is the, pretty much the bad guy.
Do you remember the first time you thought him up? Like what you were thinking about?
Oh, yeah. A lot of things that I did not like. And he's like the embodiment of that. But also,
thank you. That's what. Yes. Yeah, thank you. That's what we're doing with our billionaire family, trillionaire family, you know. So tell us about like what were you going through, and you know what's in the comic if people could want to read into that.
Like familiarity, kind of like because I don't know if everyone's gone through what I've gone through or certain other people has gone through, but I kind of want to just kind of give them the window to kind of look into that.
Right.
But
So it was it like was it relationships or work life balance? I mean, you know, an old boss. Some people, you know, they have like people in their life that are like, you know, negative influence, hangers on,
oh
sponges.
yes,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's a whole
Got them
accumulation
all.
of that.
Got them
You
all.
know, it's
But I
it's
mean, you're
a
talking about people that are reaching out to you, you know,
or,
in real life, you know. So like we all come across these like frustrating personalities, and you could turn it into a story, right?
yes, you can turn it into a story, or even you can watch CSI stuff. You know, I've watched some of that, and then after a while, I have to get off of it just to study the human psyche, the mentality of some people, and what they're willing to do, and why do they think that way. It helps in my future works, but at the same time, I have to step back because sometimes it blows my mind and it surprises me that how how a person can go that far and why do they think that way, you know. I have to step away from that, and
So what ended up in the comic?
that's what ends up in the books because some of those the bad guys, like a lot of those, they come from broken lives and you know things they chose, you know, they didn't choose to fix themselves, they chose to be bad, but also I'm drawing them so it doesn't you know but they are the embodiment of those things that I've accumulated over the years, and even people I've met, even things I've read, and people, you know, all that
Ripped
stuff.
from the headlines.
Yes, from the headlines or in person,
Yeah.
you know, because you can
Yeah.
read something, but you can read something like, damn, you know, that sucks. But when you're experiencing it in person, um, then you can get more in depth, and it's like, and some of that stuff is like, I remember that, and you know, I'm writing it or I'm putting this into that. And sometimes when I'm writing or drawing certain panels, I remember a situation or a certain thing, and then it's just like, and sometimes I don't like going there, you know, I don't like being there, but it has to be part of the story, it's part of the world, or else do I want to keep it PG-13 then, you know?
Yeah. Are you familiar with like Robert Crumb and the stuff that he put out and the controversy it caused?
I'm not actually, I'll be honest.
Right. Well, we were talking about like he's probably like the number one guy credited with creating underground comics, you know, and the like free ability of people to like not worry about censorship at all, and you know, regardless what it's, you know, violence or sexual stuff. But he used to
Yeah.
like his big controversy was honesty, like how
Yes.
honest he was actually being in the comics, and like how disturbing that is for people, you know, because it's like, you know, all the best and worst of a
So if I
person.
could
Like,
jump, if I can jump back in once again to support what I was saying, art is, you know, if you're making art, not a commercial product. And I very much
Yeah.
feel like the three of us are all in the same camp. We're not trying to pursue a genre and know that we have competitors out there. When you have somebody attack you,
Yeah.
like that, you're doing everything right
Yep.
as an artist. In other words, you're being too honest. And that scares people. It's exactly what Jake's saying, and it's what Jake knows is happening through the biography of Crumb's life. And you know, I think it is one of the fundamental struggles right now between, let's say, being creative and wanting to be creative. And I believe that's a huge division because, once again, going back to my 1 out of 10,000 people are doing exactly what it is that you're doing, you're going to get hundreds of people who are going to attack you because you scare them. You're doing something they know they should be doing, but they're scared to do it. And so therefore, the best thing to do is to stop you from doing it. So then they're no longer scared. And then therefore, they no longer have to worry about whether they're living their true self or yada, yada, yada. You know,
safety measures.
Yeah. So once again, I am actually right now, like, I think I'm on page, I pulled my damn bookmarker out, which I was using so I'm actually trying to find where I left off, which means, you know what? I mean, and even after, to be honest with you, after this interview, I'm just going to start all over and anxiously wait for volume 2, because the other than the connection to your inking, there's an undeniable honesty that you're, slashing with ink out, and, and I will say, until I got to when he meets, October, I was totally like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then I got to October. Where is this it? I think this, this is it. Yep. And so you're like, oh, cool. He meets this girl. And I'm like, wait a second, is that a tail? And now I'm going, all right, now this has just got weird. And now I'm completely sold on it. In reverse to that, I think what happens is that people get scared of that. In other words, you take them on this like, la-di-da-di-da-di, I'm fighting baddies, and I got my bow, and I got my spear, la-di-da-di-da, and then I meet a girl with a tail. So, and now I have to deal with that. You know what I mean? And I think that's it's an incredible example of being honest as an artist. And I don't want to say forcing other people to deal with it, but in my book, I think that's really what all of us are experiencing, is that there's this super amount of creativity on different levels and such that people want to be vocal about it.
It's like Savage Dragon. It's the guy having the fin on his head. I played a lot of Savage Dragon. I love Savage Dragon, and Savage Dragon. I forgot to mention that was like, and also a big influence in my upbringing on that too. I read a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yes, his old work, like that stuff, like that kind of stuff. Like I had a guy he was trying to question me. He's like, why didn't the monster? He was giving me a piece, and I was like, he's like, why does the monster? How come he can move so quiet? How come he can do this? How come he didn't explain this and that? I'm like, God dang! Let me just tell the damn story. Shit.
Yeah. I think the counter to that is keep reading. Keep reading. I'm finishing up volume 3. There's going to be 67 volumes here, so just keep reading.
Just keep reading. And to me as well, I look at it as a journal entry too. Like the times I'm going in my life and all that. These pages, they're like entry levels in my life, like journal entries. So when I know that sounds a little out there, but
not at all.
They are like kind of placeholders or like markers of like, maybe I worded that wrong, but yeah, they're like a journey into what I'm doing in my life kind of thing. Cause I do want to hit 35 volumes with Under God, but also outside of that, I'm also doing another book on the side of Under God. It's with kaiju battles with giant monsters. But it's going with a Greek mythology push to it, though. I'll just say that. Storytelling approach. So, but outside of that, being off of social media, uh, having fun. You know, I don't have to be on social media all the time, but I'm having fun still creating. I'm still creating. You know, just because I'm not on doesn't mean I'm not creating.
Right.
Because you know this is therapy to me. Like I enjoy this, but when some of the fans are, sorry, fans, and I say it in hard quotations. Some of these people, you know, they had to give me a piece of their mind, and I said, okay, well, I did this to have a peace of mind. That's why I went on to stream to have a peace of mind and to relate to other people that are, you know, that's into this kind of stuff. You know, that's in the art, into storytelling, into creating. Even if my stuff, you like it or not, that's fine. But you know, I'm telling you, just some people they just have to tell you what they think, and you're just like, I'm just like, geez, did my book hurt you that bad? Like, geez.
And that's what good art does. That's what good art does. That's what good art does. Jake and I don't get enough. Jake and I don't. We have one disliker that once and it's only on our clips, our like shorts. And it seems like when we get too far, anytime we get over 1,000, they dislike the video.
Haters,
So,
man.
I don't. But I think along those lines that the individual is just like, I don't want these guys to get any bigger. You know, that's probably their thought. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they got 1,000. They got 1,000. Yeah. You know, and right now, nobody's doing what Jake and I are doing, which is two guys working on the same book side by side, and for 3 hours every Sunday. And then we wish more and more people would be out there doing it. But I'm starting to get that echoing again. Ralph, do me one more time a favor and jump out and then jump back in, and then we're gonna tie up your interview.
Okay.
Thank
all
you.
right. Here. All right, no
Thank
problem.
you.
Let me try.
Cool. All right.
All right. Are you still hearing it or no?
Oh no, it's really wild because you come in like so crystal clear, and then it's like it becomes like more and more muffled. And I believe it's because Jake and I are at 720p, so you're basically almost like doubling us. So you're probably, and it's not, dude. It has. You're the first. Well, I want to thank you first off for being a guy coming in, just willy nilly into our three hour long, you know, live stream here. So there are multiple aspects, and you're doing nothing wrong because you have a brand new phone that could do some dope audio, high quality audio, and such. Well, but look, yes. and we're gonna be doing this again. So. And you're going to be on our Indie Creator Exchange update reel, which, you know, basically you'll start getting notifications from me where you can do like a 1 minute landscape video and just give us a heads up on what's happening. Yeah. And you'll be involved with some other indies. But I think the thing we really need to get into is that you have a copy of our Turbo Pit Fighter teaser number 2, and I know you want to make some. Critical comments and ask us why the hell we're doing what the hell we're doing.
Oh no, man! No, like in my last video, it brings me back to that whole like heavy metal, like that whole era, like that whole 90s, late 80s era. Like I enjoy this stuff. Like, and the thing is, even at the level of work and the detail, I have it right here online right now on my table. The level of detail you guys put into the work and everything, even the storytelling, like, and it's brutal. Like I always say, it's freaking brutal. I show it off to my friend, and he enjoyed it. He's like, "Damn, dude! Like, you got to meet these guys?" I'm like, yeah. so yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, this is what it reminds me of, that whole like that old school, like that heavy metal feel, that era where I was growing up at. So. That's why I like what I like about Turbo Pit Fighter. So I had no like issues like that. I wasn't like, oh man, you need to do this, this, that, and this because this is your art. You know, I feel like wrong in any kind of way because it's not in my place to be saying hey. But if I seen something that's then somebody I'm like okay. It's just like if someone drew Hello Kitty and came up, I couldn't be like hey that's shit man, fuck that.
Yeah, right. No, good
You
point.
know,
Good point. You got any
everything has its
questions?
own way of
Do you have any questions
me. Yeah,
about
I do.
Turbo? Go ahead.
Now, I was kind of wondering, like, is she? I want to say, is she like an Asian chick or a white chick? I know, like, I know that's stupid as shit, but I always like kind of wonder.
Jake. Jake's still there? We lose Jake's audio?
Oh, real quick, can I add something?
Yeah, go for it.
Now, is she in some way? I want to say mutated, not like in a good like got certain attributes about her that you guys aren't talking about.
Yes, there is definitely superpower, and then there's glowers, and then you'll notice that some people have these like lines on their faces. Where's a good example? And they're the ones that don't. So it's I want to get Jake on. I don't know what's going on. Let me text him.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
there he is. Were you
Oh.
coughing? Were you coughing? Did you hear everything that we've been talking about?
No, we had some
Oh.
kitchen noises here. So
Oh, okay.
So yeah, in this future, there had been this event called the Megapocalypse. This really rich family, the De Hubertons, dropped radioactive gas on everybody, and for a couple of people, not that many, but for a couple of people, it actually made them more powerful, and that's just because of a natural um, predilection for radiation resistance, but it also like turns her stronger, like like the super plants that grew on the Bikini Atoll when they dropped the nuclear bomb in World War II. They
Yes.
came back to this island years later and they found that some species had thrived. So we're just kind of like translating that to this scientific sci-fi world where for many years the human enhancement was studied and unlocked, and there was a couple of characters before Turbo that had enhancements, but in the time of Turbo it's mostly just these people that just continue trying to become the strongest and most powerful and longest lasting, most enduring humans through science. And Kurt and I talk a lot about those kind of things happening in real life already.
Yes, very
You
yes, I
like
agree.
you have people that are harvesting their own organs because they're rich. I mean, this is all really going on. So interesting world. And then by the time Turbo was born, it's like just a wasteland, and there's some areas where the humans are all on their own, like a road warrior society, and then the big corporation kind of fell apart after a civil war with their human soldiers that they wanted to eliminate and just have robot soldiers. And so no, there was nobody good on any side, and Turbo, the only real thing you can do for her to survive is to fight in pit fights and to win radioactive currency, and she's more able to tolerate it than other people. But in the future, the radioactive currency will be so important because it's not just money, but you could put it in the engine of your car or your air bike or whatever.
Oh, I see. It's got more usefulness, like almost like gold. I mean,
Right.
you
The
can use gold
pellets.
for a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pellets are in these shielded peas, shape, and you can just put them into your gas tank, but they're also very valuable. So whatever.
Oh, may I interject? I have to say, for Turbo, she reminds me of China. Like,
See, yeah, I do. I want to see if Jake
that's
pulled
what I
that
want to
one.
say, because
No, you're right.
I love the design of China. I love the
Yep.
character,
Yep.
and that's what I think of China when I think of Turbo.
That's who I do. That's exactly who
I mean,
that's who I use as the base reference. Now Jake's a bit different.
really,
Jake, did you hear Ralph's initial question on whether is Turbo Caucasian or Asian?
Asian.
I said I wasn't really sure, but
Yeah.
her last name was Turvo, and that's a French or Canadian sounding last name. But of course, that could just be her dad, or her mom or whatever. But we just kind of build the story as we need to.
Yes.
And we haven't really discussed her parents yet. It is going to turn out that her DNA was part of an environmental experiment, and that hurt most people in the area, but a few specimens actually got
Got
stronger.
muted. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Turbo's mom and dad get killed in the first page. So
I remember that. That was
we just kind of off them, but there's a lot of characters in the timeline, like before Turbo's born, that are strong females, and there's going to be a super team called the Rectifiers, but in the meantime, we have this super team called the Casualties, and Kurt, I'm going to do something before we get off the air that is going to be a reveal. I have almost 90% done the cover of the Casualties #1.
okay.
Yeah. So, but our characters, we have them on this big bulletin board on hellclaw.com, and we started to do some amazing collabs. We just have this 11 pager that I'm working on with Alex Turbin, and then we had this other kid named Sebastian make a 6 pager for another character called Pitch Blend, and so it's all coming together for Do Magazine's anthology #1, and now we already have a story for #2 all done.
That's what's up, man. Like, okay, I give it to you. You're on your hustle. You're on your grind, and that's what I like.
Not only that, but
seeing other creators like doing this stuff, and I don't feel like I'm alone, doing this. I don't feel crazy.
You're not.
And you should
That's cool.
You should also check out Kurt's side hustle off the main hustle. He's been doing this.
Oh, that's cool.
For the sword and sorcery
Oh
stuff.
yeah, I checked that out. I like that cover.
So Kurt has been able to curate this network of contributors, and they all plug their own stuff, but they all come together and make a Crom story. And so he has this really
that's a nice book.
volume. Yeah.
How many pages is that? It looks pretty meaty.
256.
Oh, dude.
But 50 something of it, it's this 2-page. I gave 36 artists a double page spread where you get a QR code that you can come over and scan and find out more about them. And the whole gist of it is curated, like Jake said, but it doesn't have to be just Crom stories. It's Crom centric or sword and sorcery. But just like Heavy Metal and Savage Sword of Conan, you end up walking away at some point going, "Ooh, I got to do my own thing. Like I got this story, blah 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 blah. You pull that off and everything." But yeah, so
I like that.
Yeah, and then this I just pulled out a bunch of. I had the last 10 pages to start inking for Turbo Pit Fighter, but this is my cover for the Doom anthology, Doommags anthology #1, End of the World Timeline. And she's totally templated off of a very young China. So, so I know exactly where you're coming from. And when you were doing the sketch cards, did you bring up China? I can't remember. I think you brought her.
I might have talked. Yeah, I talked about her.
I think you did. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is kindred spirit kind of stuff going on now. This is great. But we're gonna let
you're getting yours.
Yeah, and we're gonna go ahead and let you go. But before we do let you go, we want to let you give where to find you, what you're working on, totally plug and say what you will.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, you can. You can follow me at Angels of Renaissance 7s_October on YouTube, and you can also on X and Instagram. If anything, you can message me. If anything, also you can get my book Under God Volume 1 and 2, soon to be 3, at angelsoftherenaissance.com. So there you go.
Awesome. Jake, do you have anything for this young man before we let him go?
No, just to keep in touch. We're not a one and done. And if you're ever doing your weekly work, and you're around Sunday mornings, you could shoot us a comment, say hi anytime, and listen in or call in or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. Be in touch, and really like what you're doing.
Also, one last thing. Are you familiar with IC3, the Indie Comic Con, Indie Creator Comic Con out in Providence, Rhode Island?
No.
I'm going to send you a link in about 20 minutes through Instagram. Would love to meet you. Would love to hang out with you at this con. Jake and I did it last year. Super awesome con for just indie comic book creators.
Oh, yeah. That's up my alley.
All right. So, but other than that, Ralph, just like Jake says, this is not one and done. You're a part of the us, the indie creators that Jake and I are at least trying to hold one corner,
you guys are holding
like-minded. Well, I think of it as more as like we're one quarter of the foundation, and the people who resonate with us and hang out with us. Which once again, got to thank everybody over on our YouTube live stream that's been definitely working on their comics. If not just getting inspired. And then the after show, thank you, Travis. And would totally.
We have a couple people that have their own Substack that are pretty regular in the comments. And so, they put their stuff on Substack all the time. So, just a lot of shout outs and, cross-pollination because, there's some really good creators out there. And when you go to a con nowadays, everybody's like supporting each other, but you're actually saving like hundreds of dollars on shipping stuff to people and from people if you're at a con. So that's why it's really good. You can just hand off copies of your work to other people, and you can trade for their stuff, or you can or else maybe make some cash. So stay in the game and keep up the good work, man.
It's a good way of networking as well. And on top of that too, if you guys, if we can be on again, and next time if I'm not having camera issues, I'd like to draw with you guys because
absolutely.
I feel bad on my part for
not at all. Not at all. I'm going to send you a little tech support on coming in at a lower reds. And so next, it'll be just a lot easier because we've already been piping along at our 720 and we're live streaming. And so you're coming in, like almost 2 hours later. It's just coming. Yeah. Coming in hot.
I see.
But totally. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah. No, just the beginning.
We want to knock a G off the 5G. Make it
right next to the tower.
Right. Good. We all have to do this.
I appreciate you guys having me on for real. And but yeah, next time I'd like to, draw with you guys on, and
where are you out of, Mr. Nixon? Mr. Nixon, where are you out of?
Ohio.
Cool.
Okay. Shout out
So like
Ohio.
Rhode Island, Providence, I've been there before.
Huh?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
All right.
So yeah, where are you guys? Are you guys around the area?
I'm in the New York City area, and Kurt
Oh,
is in
cool.
Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
East Coasters.
yeah. I used to live
Yeah.
in Manhattan,
So
but
we're around. We're looking to do a couple of cons this season.
that's yeah. That's the next step is going to cons. Like after getting my machining stuff, that's the next step is, doing it on a bigger budget. So yeah.
Cool.
But yeah.
So yeah, and another suggestion that Kurt had was like at these cons, if instead of like getting just one table, like you can get like a little area, like a little room or something like that, because we had like 6 guys that we wanted to throw in with, and like all kind of table together,
dude,
like
yeah,
to like send the same kind of customers back and forth.
that's a great
Down the
idea.
line, down the line. All right, with
Yeah.
Ralph, we're going to let you get going because Jake and I got to wrap up our little show here. And we are definitely going to stay in touch, and we're going to
Yes.
be hanging out, trolling again.
All right. Thank you for having me, Jake, and thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome.
No
And,
problem, man. Good meeting you. And
Yes.
peace out, man. Do some good stuff.
Thank you, guys. And you guys
All
keep it strong, keep it going, and I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right, you guys.
Take care.
All right. Wow. Whew. I'll tell you.
There are just so many that go like that.
What's that?
Our interviews go like that, like, best friend, let's keep working together. Like,
Because we're all cut from the same stone. That's what it is. I mean, I think one of the most amazing things that's, I think it's always been there, but people are starting to resonate more and more with it, is like being less like commerce driven and just more like authentic. I just want to meet people online and use the fucking internet to what it's really for, and communicating and pulling stuff together. And like I said, I've been watching Ralph for over a year. And he was, creeping up on the list, for this interview. It's great that he's so chill that, we were able to get through this, once again, theory of mine, or test, if you will, a test subject. So then I can come back and figure out what's going on and everything. But, and having more people, with us, because, the theme being, hanging out at Jake's house, I think that's what, we bring across an attitude. It's not like we're selling something. And I think that's the thing that hurts us the most, if we wanted to be critical, is that we just don't sell enough Turbo or Kurt and Jake or whatever it is. Because
give it away, like
yeah. And just to sell something real quick, is that you can get a hold of the second Turbo teaser from cromthebarbarian.com, and there's a PDF version. So if you can't wait for it to get shipped, then you can definitely get the download and go through it. There's a really, really good chance Jake and I are still commiserating about it, but this will go away maybe, because we'll have the first 18 pages in the upcoming Doommags anthology. But Jake, that's all I have for these good people. Let them get back to reading comics, making them if they choose.
Well, I have one more thing.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go live solo on Substack after this.
Doommags.substack.com.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt, for putting the graphic up there in Helvetica.
Trying to sell, baby. I'm trying to sell this thing.
But no, I also don't promote that well. But I want to reveal.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Sorry.
of casualties number 1. So I got to get out of this folder and thinking about two things at once on the air. That's where you slow things down. So here it is in Photoshop layers. This is opening now, and this is a couple days work during the week, maybe like 2 evenings working
Oh
on
boy.
this. So
Oh boy.
um,
Oh boy.
I have to do better than I did last time, but at the same time, I'm using this. I did a pencil um, original, and then I put it through this Epson scanner, and you know the the file that I got for Photoshop. Um, I mean, it looks nice until I really zoom in, and I think either I could be scanning it better or drawing it better, one or the other. Anyway, when you zoom out, I'm being very critical just about the resolution of the scanner and what it picks up. Like what you want to see when you zoom in is the texture of the paper. But these scanners nowadays, they think they're doing you a favor and getting rid of it for you, using their filter. And it's like, no, I have my own filters in Photoshop. Let me just give me a good raw scan, right? So here it is. I'll show it to you like in thirds maybe, but let's get it all set up. Ready? Um, Kurt, you tell me if you can see this
It's
decent.
really tough. I mean, to be honest with you, it's really tough. It's at an angle. It's bitmappy.
Yeah.
I really just need to see I mean, for what I know your work to be, I mean, this is this is you. This is you being top notch. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And this is just for clarity's sake, though. This is what the whole speedier style and less sketching and more storytelling approach. That's what this is for.
no, this is not. This is supposed to be my good style, like my concert poster style.
Yeah, but what would this be for? This is a Casualty #1 comic
No,
book.
it's Doom Magazine's number 1.
Well, why does it say Casualties at the top?
It says Doom Magazine's logo right here,
Well,
and
that's
then
a
it says
bit
Doom
confusing.
Magazine number 1 right across the top, and then it says the casualties. But you're absolutely right. I need to put right here we're featuring the casualties. So once that's there, it'll be Doom Magazine number 1 featuring the casualties, and then
And that's your cover, because my cover is this,
you just
which
showed it.
we've already. Yep. This is going to be my cover. So just like Jake and I did with the Turbo teaser, the files are all made. The files are shared between the two of us, and we can go off and make our own comic book and print as many different ways or however we want to approach it. So
Right,
and the casualties is the 6-pager Ken Landgraf did, and that you amplified, if you will, in post production.
right. I mean, we could lead with this 6-pager, and it wouldn't be a bad thing,
It's interesting.
and then put
Interesting.
turbo in the back.
We have a lot. Like I said, I want us to get to a point where we can put all the art together in a proof where both of us get a copy, and then we can sit there and we can start ranging the pages and start, curating.
Well, we gotta
finish everything.
I can't wait to work on the zine pages because
Yeah.
that can be a jam where we do it live on the air, and I'm just writing the text that goes with the pictures, like that flows around the pictures, and we're just deciding what to say based on the writing that we have up on the Substack now, and just kind of like making it into like pure hype, like pulp hype, it reads like the announcer of a horror movie in the on the radio. You'll be shocked at the edge of your seat, and so if I have my version and the casualties of the cover instead of Turbo as the cover, then the casualties could be the first story, and then Turbo's secondary to that. Even though it's only a 6-pager, I have a lead-in page, which could be the inside front cover, and then I have we could have a lead out page too, because we're already making Hellclaw #1 in production. So you just kind of like have a little announcement for that on the last page with tons of more text. And this enables you to smuggle in all this prose that we have already
Right.
there, sitting there.
So one thing I do want you to be weary of is when we go to print on Amazon, there needs to be a page devoted. It doesn't have to be all blank, but there has to be a clear reading of the copyright and the ISBN in order for it to register with Amazon for publishing. So there might be
once again, that has to be where?
Within the first 3 pages of a publication going on Amazon. So you have to have this. You have to have the title, as it's ISBN.
Lower left indicia on inside front cover.
Yeah, well, I'm just prepping you for when we get to laying out. So these are just things that I just want us to be aware of. That we've made indie comics without ISBNs, but this comic is going to be ISBN, and it'll be published also on Amazon. So there will be some things we'll have to restrict.
ISBN. I just want to know if that can all be on the inside front cover.
I'll have to check with Amazon, but I've been doing it basically on the 2nd and 3rd page.
Yeah, I kind of want this to open up with a page of comics.
I understand. But I have some stuff that I'm working on.
They can't be where they make you burn a page.
No, I'm just saying that I'm figuring this out as I'm uploading comics to everything and stuff. So I just giving you preparation that there is this information that needs to be read by the Amazon machine, in order to get published.
Well, I hope that's not too strict, the guidelines, because
we're gonna find out.
Like preparation page to me. So I got I want to run this, and I want to carefully select the zine pages that we have that are not lead-in pages, because they will be promoting a storyline that we have available as a script. That's the whole point of the zine pages, is to tell you about the other characters on the timeline from a bulleted pointed list that we already published in the first Turbo teaser. And the list is expanding by a couple of bullets, but that's because they're splitting apart. And we have new writing or art for almost everything on the list at this point.
Right. Yeah. Pretty damn exciting, you have to admit.
So yeah, that's what we're here for.
Cool. All right, close this out then.
Thanks for tuning in, and check out our other channels we have on our YouTube tabs. We got the Comics That Influence, and it's fun to go back over those and clipping. Kurt and I are flipping through a couple of cool comics that we got our hands on. And then we have our Indie Creator Exchange, where we don't just talk to comic creators. We actually talk to retailers and reviewers and comic store owners and all kinds of people. So going through a journey, and you're welcome, especially if you're drawing indie comics and you need something to listen to while away the time. Check us out and join us live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, approximately, where we live draw and do production. Peace.
See you next Sunday, Jake.